Hiram, you stand just outside the sheriff's office. Wesley's mother has been brought in to answer some questions, some things that Marvin said. The sheriff's inside questioning her. And for the first time in what feels like forever, you might be on the good side of the law. You can just remember it, though. That plume of smoke arcing skyward. That strange symbol. The thing burning on Marvin's skin, that silver, the metal. You remember his complexion, his nearly transparent skin, the way that his eyes just seemed a little too black. But most of all, you remember that leaking eye, the perfectly shot bullet, the absence of a scream of pain, and him looking up at you as the fire burned away his corpse. Hiram, what are you doing?
So Hiram is sitting on the bench in the sheriff's station with his hat next to him. He's fiddled with it and set it back down, and he's just kind of waiting his turn. He glances quickly across the room where he can see his gun that's been holstered on a coat rack. Anytime he's in this situation, he is not super comfortable with being in the custody of the law for any reason. He seems a little bit more relaxed than last time, though. This time, not being behind bars, being here as a guest, almost. Hiram is visibly nervous, but not nearly as perturbed as he was when he was behind the bars.
Yeah, you'd hear talking kind of back inside of the sheriff's. Like he has like a little separate office in the back of the place behind the prison. And I'm in the jail, and you hear him kind of talking with Mrs. Burke, speaking with her in hushed tones. The fire that you set in the barn got a little out of hand, burned down maybe a quarter of their fields. The house still stands, but it's a huge loss for the family. People showed up to help, but it just wasn't enough. The barn just went up too quickly. As you're sitting there, you hear the click of boots on the boardwalk approaching the sheriff's station. You'd see Dennis Boutman approaching. He'd kind of give you a tip of the hat and a nod and step inside, going towards the back of the sheriff's office, passing you.
Yeah, and there's a moment where Hiram gets up and he grabs his hat and kind of holds it close to his chest, like he's willing to go with Dennis, and then realizes that Dennis is not here for him. And kind of awkwardly drums his fingers across the brim of his hat and sits back down.
Yeah, and he'd kind of like stop as you stand and look at you from the doorway. And he'd kind of like lean in. I don't know what's going on about all this, Hiram. I don't know why or how or for what reason at all Marvin was alive again. I saw him dead. I know. And he kind of just like frowns for a second, and he kind of like looks side to side, and he looks at you and says, I went back to the barn this morning, and I found this. And he kind of pulls out a revolver, an exact copy of your own, like to the T, everything about it. Look, I was wrong to doubt you, Hiram. You've done nothing but been good to the family. And I don't know why or who is trying to frame you, but I'd be careful from here on out. You understand?
Of course, Mr. Bowden.
You just kind of nod. My younger brother's looking forward to his next lesson, too. He told me to tell you that whenever you get the chance to come around again. I'm sure Pa would be happy to see you, too. And he kind of slapped you on the shoulder and step into the station, walking towards the back room. On his way back, he would pass sitting in a chair, you, Wesley, and he'd kind of stop and look at you and put a hand on your shoulder. You know that the Bowtons basically own everything at Crow's Gulch, including the quarry, all the farmland and everything. And he'd kind of put a hand on your shoulder. I'm sorry about what happened, Wes. First your brother, then a quarter of your crops. It can't be easy. But we're going to do what we can to help you through this, okay? Your family's always been reliable.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. He's kind of got nervous sweats.
Yeah, and he's kind of
because of the importance of this man.
Yeah, he'd study you for a couple seconds, just looking you up and down. Did he say anything to you, the man, Marvin? Why was he doing what he was doing? Did you hear anything?
I don't recall anything about this Marvin character. I didn't hear anything from any Marvin, sir.
You just kind of nod. All right. Well, I'm in West. You know, if you remember something, you come and find me, right?
It ain't that I ain't remembering something. It's more like I didn't see nothing. You know.
All right. I know. And he'd look at you, and that was one hell of a shot you made, by the way. Hit him right in the eye. And he'd like look you up and down. If you're looking to show off those skills again, he'd kind of pull like a thin card out of his pocket and put it in your hand. You know where to find me. And he'd put it in your hand. And you know that Dennis is in charge of dueling. He's basically runs the dueling ring in the town. And there are rumors that he runs an underground one too, but nothing confirmed. But he'd put the card in your hand and kind of give you a knowing nod. You've obviously been shooting, son.
No, sir. Just a lucky shot, I reckon.
And you kind of just frown, like give you like this like smirk smile. Lucky shot indeed. Look, son, your mama doesn't have to know, but if you want to, always looking for more duelists. And he kind of put a hand on your shoulder and give you a squeeze and a smile, and start to step away.
And he just like looks down at the card that was given to him, and kind of thumbs its edges and fiddles with it and fidgets with it. Not really reading it or looking at it, really. It's more he's just kind of zoning out while looking at it, while thinking about the events that had transpired a few days prior.
Yeah, and as he continues past you, stepping away, smiling as you thumb at the card and take a look at it, he would kind of pause again, kind of looking back at the person sitting next to you, Matoskah. Definitely a strange figure. He's never seen your face before. Though he's seen plenty of tribal coming through these parts. He'd kind of look at you and give you this like studying stare, which you find strangely unnerving. It's like he's picking you apart with his eyes. Strange level of intelligence there.
Matoskah would kind of just sit there and feel very uncomfortable, but do his best to kind of remain placid and just return his gaze. He would look him straight in the eye and just keep his facial features completely stony, I guess. But he would meet his gaze and just sort of sit there straight, just staring at him.
Yeah, and he would just kind of smile. Roll me an insight check.
That's not bad. $15.
You get the terrifying sensation for a moment that he knows exactly what you are. And he just gives you a smile. Not a knowing one, just a friendly smile. Nods to you and continues past, walking towards the back of the station, back of the sheriff's office.
As soon as his gaze turns away from me, I like shiver a little bit in my seat. I just like keep my composure for as long as our gazes are locked, but as soon as he turns away, I would sort of visibly shudder and like hunch my shoulders a little bit and look around.
Yeah, there's literally one other person you can think of who's ever been able to make you feel that way, and it was your tribe's shaman. She had this strange way of just knowing the secrets that people were hiding, knowing who they were. And you get the same feeling from him as he looks at you and like studies you. So he continues past, walking past the jail cells and opening the door into the back of the sheriff's office. He steps in. You hear the door shut behind him, and the speaking continues. How is Lance looking?
A day has passed, right? You said so. He's
yeah, it's been about 24 hours.
I imagine he's bandaged up a bit and kind of has it around his chest and maybe his arm in a sling. He's just kind of sitting there, really trying to process what happened last night. For he finds no way to process it. Like there's no way to make sense of it. So he's visibly like, not distraught, but visibly like disturbed by it.
Yeah, so you're sitting there kind of in one of the chairs. Go ahead and roll me. I need to turn the light on.
Whoa.
Roll me a d20 at advantage.
Oh boy. Mysterious D20. Well, I'm going to hit you with that nat 20.
Nat 20?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I can find the stupid table he's looking at. I'm pretty sure nat 20 is just like a minor score or something. Yeah, let's just, I can't find the page, so rather than waste time on this, let's just go with a minor scar. So what does this scar look like that you received from this fight last night?
This scar that I've received?
Yeah.
Let's just say that it is pretty obviously a bullet hole in the shoulder, my right shoulder. And it looks like a pretty nasty bullet hole through the shoulder.
Yeah, the doctor had to show up, and he sealed the wound as quickly as he could to stop you from bleeding with a heated knife, held over a fire, seared it shut. Looks real ugly. Oh, is it breaking in, breaking out?
It only breaks when you lean.
Oh yeah. For some reason, whenever I lean outside my webcam, it's just stupid. Okay. So yeah, you're sitting there in the room. Your arm's kind of sitting in a sling, though you insisted that it's fine. The doctor forced you to wear it to make sure that it heals properly. And the sheriff, Wayne, is kind of sitting in a chair next to Mrs. Burke or Miss Burke, kind of speaking quietly with her. He's been asking rudimentary questions, asking if there's any reason why somebody want to hurt her family, what this gun was that he was speaking about, etc. So you hear the door open, and in walks Dennis, and he shuts the door behind him and turns and looks at you all. My father sent me as a liaison of sorts for the current issue. He's taking it very seriously. Our farming families mean a lot to us, so we'll do what we can to help. And he kind of just gives a kind nod and a smile to Ms. Burke, who kind of gives him a wary look before turning back to the sheriff and answering his latest question. Do you have any questions that you wish to ask, Deputy?
And this is Dennis to me?
No, I'm just asking you like out of character, GM.
Oh. I think I'd be waiting to talk to Hiram and Matoskah, but not something now that I want to ask in public, I guess.
Yeah, you'd be free to step out whenever you wanted to. I mean, the sheriff's handling the questioning, so you can get out if you want to.
Yeah. So if we all were like kind of alone at that point, then I would go up to Hiram and just say, what the hell was that last night?
Hiram stands up and grabs his hat, and he says, so is this line of questioning done? Because I'd like to get back to doing my normal thing, if you don't mind. And he'll put his hat on his head and start to move towards his gun that's been placed on the wall.
I imagine that I kind of like interpose myself in between you. And I say, no, the questioning's not done.
All right. Well, I've told you everything that I know. Some sort of creature, if you want to call it that, but a man that should have been dead. Come back. Tried to kill a few different people. Fortunately, a barn was set on fire during the duel. It doesn't look like he'll be causing any more problems.
And you
I think that just about covers everything.
You expect me to believe that a man who was dead, I've seen him dead with my own eyes. I was there when the coroner did the report. Just got back up. I look over at Matoskah.
Matoskah scans, and he repeats, Skudagamut. Not man. Spirit in man's body.
I'm just kind of like pinching the brow, the stress telltale sign of Lance. You just can't expect me to believe that. There has to be some reasoning here, some kind of cover-up.
Well, if I'd have to guess, Deputy, probably a man that wanted to fake his own death. So paying off a coroner's not that hard. Faking a death isn't that hard around here. Hell, most criminals do it at least 2 or 3 times to get out of their rap sheets. He did a good job, and he puts his hand on his shoulder. Now, Deputy, I think we're done, don't you?
Can tell that he doesn't look like he wants to be done, but like you telling him that, what he wants to hear, that there is some way to explain this. He just gives you like the tough guy nod and just, yeah, I'll just go over my reports again, I guess. We're done here. And thanks, Hiram, for last night. And he just looks like he's uncomfortable saying that, but he makes eye contact with you and gives you a nod.
And Hiram will get his holster off the wall and belt it back on him. And as he goes to leave, he puts his hat, settles his hat down, and Deputy Lance, there's a chance someone else might be coming by to visit, an associate of mine. He may have some questions for you, or at least maybe some answers. That's about all I can talk about right now.
Fair enough. Well, like you said, you've been a good sport. Carry on with your day.
So Hiram will head out, and he's going to go to the nearest saloon and add to his continual list of personal problems by drinking.
Yeah, you step out into the street, kind of like horse-pulled, like stagecoaches and wagons kind of going past you. Crow's Gulch is a busy town. Plenty of visitors, but also nobody who really stays. Like the people who are here are the people who stay here. But people come out of their way to get here for like the oasis and stuff if they're traveling by foot, because railway is kind of expensive. So like all these stagecoaches are kind of going past you, black paneled, wooden. The coachman kind of standing at the top, just whipping the reins. People walking by with various wares and items. You see drifters and some hunters and trappers, fur traders, kind of making their way through the town, through the center. You can see kind of just in the distance where the kind of town starts to slope up the edge of the mountain, this oasis watering hole, like this kind of it's strange that it's here. There's no sign that it should be, but it is. Everyone calls it a miracle. This like beautiful waterfall kind of just pouring into the pool itself. It's deep, very, very deep. Nobody knows exactly how deep it is. People have tried to swim down to the bottom, can't find it. But this oasis is very, very deep water, very clean, very fresh water. And a man, you see like a kind of a contingent, like a small group of individuals ride up on horses. They're very well dressed, tailored suits. And they kind of are wearing these, like embroidered under their chest pockets are OWT out. It stands for the Owen Water Trading Company. And they kind of ride past you, kind of give you like a look as they go by, a brief nod, kind of they're nodding to people as they go past, trying to, look like the public servants they think they are, and making their way up towards the Boughton Manor, which is kind of right at the top of the waterfall, up on the top of the mountain. You see them turn up the street and go past you. As you start to walk across the street, you see an individual standing across the road on the opposite boardwalk, looking at you. It's Lawrence Pickering, and he's giving you a stink eye.
Yeah, Hiram sees it, and there's no better way to describe Hiram than this move. He locks eyes with Pickering, tips his hat, and continues on his way. Hiram knows exactly who he is and what he's getting himself into, but there's no coming back with Pickering, so he might as well have a little fun with it.
Yeah, so you tip the hat and go to make your way around him, and he kind of steps up by your side and starts walking with you, just like within like inches from your side, close enough that you can hear him speaking in a normal voice, but that no one else can unless they're really listening in. Just couldn't take the fall, could you, Hiram?
Not this time, Pickering.
Hiram, it's going to be damn hard to explain this one away.
Well, next time, maybe clue me in on your operations instead of trying to throw me to the wolves. And it could be handled a little bit quieter. Look on the bright side. You've got 3 more agents.
That isn't the bright side, Hiram. Our goal is to keep people out of this business, not pull them into it.
Funny. You pulled me in, and you've been trying to push me back out the other end as fast as possible.
And
You'll
it kind of
need a
just
replacement
sighs.
for me at one point.
Yeah, he sighs deeply. Look, Hiram, there's going to come a time where the sheriff isn't going to be able to cover for you anymore, and you're going to have to take the fall for one of these. It happens to all of us eventually. That's what we do.
That.
It's the price we pay.
I get that. But I'm also already an outlaw. If I take the fall, it doesn't mean I stop working. I've got my reasons for continuing this, and I've got my reasons why I'm not going to let you just push me down a dark hole. But eventually I know my timer will come up. Once that happens, there does need to be a replacement. You and I both know it. We both need replacements. Well, there's 3.
And he would just shake his head and start chuckling to himself. Whatever you say then, Hiram. And he'd look at you. Sorry about the miscommunication then, Agent. And he'd reach into his pocket and he'd pull out maybe like enough for a couple rounds and put them in your hand. Looks like you're somebody who could use a drink right now. I've got some witnesses to talk to. Clean up your mess.
Pickering, that's the thing that you're best at. I'm hoping one of these ones picks up on that talent. Maybe the deputy can help me out with some of my problems. And he just kind of smiles and takes the coin and continues on his walk.
And he'd kind of like say after while you're walking away, you better make sure you stay close to those Boughtons too. You're the only person we got in there. You know that, right?
Yep. That's why it seems foolish that you try and throw me away. And he like holds up his hand like, all right, I'm done with this conversation.
Yeah, if you could see his face, it'd be red. He'd be fuming and bridling because, yeah, you don't ignore Pickering. He would just kind of just shake his head, turn around, look back at the sheriff's station, and walk back towards it. Walking across the boardwalk, down the street, and stepping inside. And he would see the 3 of you, you just standing there, Lance and the other 2 of you sitting. And he'd look at the 3 of you and smile. Good day, gentlemen.
Mr. Pickering.
Deputy O'Connor.
What is the occasion, good sir?
The occasion is that we need to have a conversation. You and I, Mr. O'Connor.
Is that so? And to me, Lawrence Pickering is just a banker, right?
Yeah, he's a banker with a lot of rumors going around him that is suspected of foul play, but there's nothing that can be certain about whether or not he is.
Shady banker. All right.
Shady banker. Yep, he's about as tall as you are, well built. Here, I can pull up a picture of him, actually.
Please do.
That is Mr. Pickering.
I am. All right, Mr. Pickering, and what exactly is it that you need to talk to me about? Is there issues at the bank? Got any
more nebulous issues than that, Deputy? If you'd kindly come with me. This is a talk best kept private.
All right, then. Well, I look at my slinged arm. Looks like I'm taking it easy today anyway, so I don't see why not.
So he kind of like stepped to the side, pushing the door open and kind of like gesturing like with his arm, like holding it open for you. Kind of like an any day now type thing.
I would pick up my coat, which I imagine I have hanging, kind of drape it over my shoulders so that it actually obscures my sling shoulder, and head on out.
So he'd walk down the boardwalk with you. He walks down the boardwalk with you, right next to you, kind of maybe inches, inches apart from you, so you can hear him speaking in a regular voice. Strange what happened yesterday, isn't it, Deputy?
I don't know if strange is the word for it, but something happened last night. You got any insight?
You mean besides a dead man coming back to life, apparently?
That just seems like a small list in the amount of bullshit that's been happening here lately. But yep, that's definitely one of those things that we could call strange.
Did you notice anything about this man, Deputy? Anything that stood out to you?
I mean, what business is that of a banker, Mr. Pickering? I think that's normally something that's more held on my end. Don't you think? Do you have any insight on this case? If you know something.
Oh, I know a lot of things. I know a lot of things, Mr. Deputy. Plenty of things, actually. You just need to ask the right questions and notice, the things that stand out, that are strange.
Well, I noticed that our good buddy Hiram said that an acquaintance was going to stop by not too long, and lo and behold, here you are. I noticed that he loaded his gun with silver bullets and shot this dead man. And he stood there.
Bullets.
Expensive bullets indeed. And to be even more surprised, he hit him point blank. And that dead man still stood there. Is that the right question I should be asking?
I don't know if that was a question so much as a statement.
That's very true. How is that possible?
Well, there are myriad ways to explain it. Maybe he just had a high pain threshold.
The man was glowing.
Now that's a little bit more difficult to answer.
He almost seemed like spectral or something. I don't really know how to explain it, and I feel like an idiot saying it out loud. But something wasn't right.
Have you ever paid attention to the stories that the shamans tell around the fires at night? Have you ever been to one of the shamans or one of the tribal encampments, those places they call home, and listened?
Don't really reckon I have. I've heard the tales, though, child's tales, things to scare the children to listening to their parents and not run off in the night. You tell me that you're one of those people that believe in these things then.
And he'd slowly turn and look at you. And you're saying after last night you don't?
I'm saying that I live my life by the law, and the law can always explain any circumstance. And what I've seen last night is something that I can't explain. And I'm trying to process that, and I'm trying to ask the questions and figure out how a man that I've seen dead came back and almost killed me. And not only that, took bullets and stood there and was able to grapple with a man at least a foot higher than him and hold his own. I haven't seen any dead man do that before. So I don't know what I believe.
You kind of smile, and he'd lean in and put an arm around your shoulder. And he'd tap you on the chest, and you hear a hollow as he hits the book. I suggest you do some reading, Deputy. And he kind of give you a knowing smile and a wink and start walking away. It's not very often that the book chooses the reader.
He's walking away from me, right?
Yeah.
I'd kind of yell out, like, what the hell does that mean?
Read the book. Maybe you learn a thing or two.
I question in my head how he even knows that the book is there, something I haven't really showed anybody yet, and I've kind of been keeping to myself, but I feel it. And then I kind of pull my coat up a bit and look at it. But
you describe to me what the book looks like.
It's pure black leather, but doesn't quite feel like leather. It's very skin-like, and the cover itself is anything but smooth. It's very wrinkled and wavy almost. The pages in it are just pure brown and look like they would fall out at any given moment if you were to just open the book, even the slightest of aggression to it. But yet it's still there, it's intact, and it, despite your best efforts, would hold its own despite how it looks. It's a very strongly made book, and I believe we said that the front cover, to my surprise, has the initials LO in my handwrite somehow, but I know that I didn't write that there.
Yeah, as you're staring at it, you kind of leaf through a couple pages. It's filled with unintelligible scripts, all sorts of pictures and diagrams. The only thing you could really pick out is like the occasional ingredient. Like you see silver plenty, you see thyme and rosemary, you see all sorts of just weird items and ingredients, like all over the pages. Weird pictures of terrifying things, weird creatures. And as you kind of look at this book, Mr. Pickering walks away and turns the corner, moving towards the marketplace. And you hear somebody off to your right say, "He's right, you know."
I would instinctively tuck the book away as if I've been caught doing something. Look over my shoulder.
Yeah, there's a man in kind of this flowing black overcoat. He's wearing a black hat that's tipped down over his eyes. And in his hand, he's expertly shuffling a deck of cards. That you see all of the different like symbols and faces and numbers and stuff are all black on the cards too.
Excuse me? Who's right? Who the hell are you?
Well, I'm nobody. But he's right. You should read the book. It's a good one.
What do you know about this book? Nobody.
That it'll answer a lot of your questions. That it'll show you a different world, something that you haven't considered before. Though you might think I'm crazy now, he says before you can even open your words and mouth and call him crazy.
I'm starting to think that I'm the one going crazy.
Oh, you are, my friend. You are.
Thanks, friend. What'd you say your name was again? I don't recognize you from around here.
Because I'm not from around here. I'm from around everywhere.
I'm sorry. Let me make that a little clearer for you. Deputy Peacekeeper Lance O'Connor of Crow's Gulch would like to know who you are, sir. And I'd kind of flash him the Peacekeeper badge.
He kind of just looks at it as you flash it. Shiny. Well, you can just call me Mr. Blackburn.
All right, Mr. Blackburn. You want me to read this book? Is there anything else that I should know? You seem to know a lot, but you're not saying very much.
I said you should try and read the book. Believe me, you won't be able to immediately.
I go to like pinch my nose, but stop. Okay. I'll try to read the book. Any other wise words of advice you have for me?
He just turns and starts to walk away. Scootagamove.
I mumble under my breath, I swear to God, if somebody else says that word to me today, I'm going to lose it.
Yeah, so you look down briefly and look back up and he's gone. Just like he was walking down the alleyway a second ago, now he's just gone.
All right. I would definitely make sure the book's tucked away. I'm not going to read it here. It seems, for some reason, when I'm opening it, I feel like I'm doing something that I shouldn't be, something like subconscious. So it's something I want to do when no one's around, I guess. So I put it away, I tuck it, I make sure that it's not showing. I look around to make sure no one's watching me. And then I'll go back and see how Wesley and Matoskah are doing.
How are you, young man?
I don't really know how to make of all this.
Yes.
My barn burnt down.
The
Me and my
spirits-
pa, we built that barn.
The spirits have not been kind to you of late.
Oh, whatever them spirits are doing, maybe they can't at all. You're right. Wish I could talk to those spirits and tell them to stop being so mean to me.
Yes. The price of talking to spirits is not one to be taken lightly, though.
Wait, how much money you say it's talking to them spirits?
They are not interested in money.
But you just said, sir, they have a cost, a price.
Not every price can be paid in gold.
You're confusing me, sir.
Sometimes the price is much more nefarious.
Price is what now?
It is...
I ain't finding it funny. Prices ain't hilarious.
He smiles a little bit and says, what the man said about your father, your brother's friend.
Oh, Boone, yeah.
Boone.
His name's Boone.
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 Boone. It's more of a boon, not a boon.
he kind of laughs and goes, Boone.
There we go. Matoskah. Boone. And what were you saying about him, Boone feller?
Your father paid a price, not one in gold. He got much in return.
I don't quite understand, but I'll leave it at that. Mr. Matoskah can talk about your price you can't pay, and I'll sit here with a burnt down farm.
Matoskah kind of grunts. You should be careful of these prices. They are always the heaviest.
Wait, they're heavy now too? How much are we talking here?
Heavy on your soul, young man.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
These things may not make sense to you now.
Hey, they sure ain't. They sure ain't making none of them sense.
Keep this conversation in mind for the future.
All right, Mr. Matoskah, sir. I'll do my darndest to keep this talking in my head.
And he kind of looks up, and probably the deputy's walking back in.
I imagine the deputy standing in the doorway just listening to this conversation, just like...
Just like, good try, Matoskah. Good try.
Yeah, so you walk back in. What were you coming back for?
Just to see how Wes is holding up, I guess. Let him know that we'll take care of the farm. I know that that's a real heavy burden to come up into this time of season. And it's a good city, so, or at least there's good folk in the city. Maybe not the best city, but you know what? Your family's been through a lot, and we'll make sure we get that barn back up.
That'd be mighty kind of you, sir. Be great honor on all our parts here to get a new barn for the Burke family.
Do you got a question for
I
you, though, son?
ain't gonna ask of it, but if you're gonna give it him, more than happy to oblige.
All right.
You had what do you want to ask, sir? Mr. Deputy Lance, sir? Sheriff, sir?
Something's just been bugging me about last night. Well, a lot of things have been bugging me about last night, but...
Oh, me too, sir.
No doubt. But you said that your family only had the one gun.
We do have the one gun, sir.
And
it's my mom's gun.
Seen
it's
the revolver that your mom had. But what about what you shot?
I shot my mom's revolver. That's what I said. That's what happened. We have one revolver. It's just one gun. It ain't two guns. It's just one. That's what I used.
No, Lance
on the field.
Lance was unconscious through this, so he doesn't really know. He just heard that Wesley was the one that like shot the creature in the eye. And he says, I remember it that your mom had the revolver.
And I grabbed it from her because I was mighty scared of what she might do with it. You know what some mamas are like, you know, after not having Pop around so many years.
All right. If that's where you're going with, Sam, then that's what you're going with. But I just want you to understand that apparently that Marvin folk was looking for perhaps a different a revolver, something that Boone fellow was talking about, that revolver that your dad might have wielded at one point. And if people are coming and killing for that, obviously that's something that we want to know where it is. You understand that, right?
Yes, sir. That Marvin feller's dead, yeah? Won't be bothering us any no more?
Oh, I'll be damned if I know. But I certainly hope so.
Well, it ain't like some dead man can come up and walking around. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I thought I did.
Skugramukta.
Bless you, sir. Bless your soul.
The door opens at the back of the sheriff's station. You hear like a final you get home now, you get some rest, and the sheriff walks out with Miss Burke, kind of leading her out the front door, and kind of smiles and nods to her. She kind of just like grabs him by the arm and just says thank you one last time emphatically for saving her son and protecting them. And she walks off. Dennis walks out too, nods to all of you, stares at you one more time, Matoskah, and then walks out of the door, heading off as well. One thing that you would notice is kind of strange, Lance, is that Dennis has these two cronies, like these big, huge tribesmen who follow him around like everywhere. They're like his personal bodyguards, but you don't see them around today. Like, and they're literally almost always with him. So that just kind of strikes you as a bit odd.
All right. I'd look to Wayne, the sheriff, and ask him if he has anything needs me to do today. Obviously, the shoulder's feeling like shit, but I don't want to be taking a day off unless if there's work to do on what I'm saying, Sheriff, is let me know.
He would just nod to you. I might have something for you later. But no, take the day off. You've been through hell. So seems like you could use it. So go get some booze in you if you want to. I don't know. Get out of here. I want to see you around here till tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff. That's the two gentlemen, Matoskah and Wesley, if they're interested in having lunch on me.
I mean, I reckon I'd head down back to the farm, but it's a mighty long walk, and my tumbly's got a grumbling, so. After you, sir. Sheriff, Mr. Lance, sir.
And I imagine I'm trying to like hold the door open for him, but he's like stopping and like literally holding up traffic. So I just like awkwardly shimmy past him and do that awkward like door hold, but like I'm halfway out.
White man custom, very strange.
And then yeah, I guess we'll.
And Matoskah kind of does the same thing. He like copies you.
It's like, oh,
Recognize that's what you're supposed to do.
I go to like say something, but then just shake my head and lunch.
Okay, so the three of you head out to go and get some food somewhere. What is Hiram up to?
Hiram's in the snake bite. He's just getting drinks and spending his afternoon there playing cards. Pretty usual for Hiram about this time of day to visit the taverns and things like that. When he gets there, he's kind of putting on the kind of showmanship type thing where he's a little bit entertaining for the bar. They're playing songs on the piano. He's riling people up, encouraging them to buy drinks and things like that. It'd be like the closest approximation to like a Wild West club promoter is what he's doing right now.
Yeah. So you're kind of like you're almost like a figurehead for the bar, basically, for like the duels and stuff. Like they know the Hiram comes here to drink. So yeah, people are buying more drinks. You know that like the more drinks that are bought like while you're there, like the higher of a tab you get at this bar for drinks for free. So like every single time a drink comes through, he kind of like looks at you and like kind of like nods and puts like a little check on like a little board he keeps tally on beneath the bar.
Yeah, and this is pretty much the reason that Hiram comes back to the snake bite. Like the other bars, they have better alcohol available for Hiram whenever he does this sort of thing, but Hiram gets more return at this bar than he does at the other ones. So it's a quantity versus quantity question, and Hiram's clearly going with quantity.
Yeah, for sure. You know that at this bar they also sell behind the counter deals on snapweed, which is like it's like this like stuff that you rub between your fingers and it releases a smell that you kind of sniff in your nose. And so I mean you see a couple of people buying some of that and going to like the darker kind of little alcoves separated out by the bar to sniff the snapweed. And people are definitely in their drinks now that you're around.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all that's going on in there, unless there's something else to interrupt it. I don't know that it's a super like story enriching scene. So if we want to switch it to somebody else, that's cool.
Yeah, that's fine. We can move over to the other three. Okay, so where are you guys going? What's the place you're heading to?
So I imagine that as much as I hate the fact that I'm going there, I actually am going to the snake bite. Not because it has good food, not because it has good alcohol, because I have a strong feeling that Hiram's there. And even though I let him off the hook and said that I was done, I can't get past the fact that I feel like there's more questions that need to be asked. So I'd be bringing everybody there.
Oh yeah, you've definitely caught Hiram just like in here, put cuffs on him several times. Like it's part of the show now. Like people expect it. Like you come in, people are starting to boo and stuff like that. Like they're expecting you to cuff Hiram, and Hiram like jokingly like extends his hands up like he's ready to be cuffed as you approach the table.
I imagine, yeah, I approach the table and everyone's kind of like making a spectacle of it, watching. Just look around, frustrated. Do you mind if I sit down, or if we sit down?
Well, now this seems to be a different kind of visit. Well, boys, you can keep using my deck. That's fine. I'm going to take the deputy and some friends I made here over to a different table and enjoy a little bit of bite to eat. And he's going to slide over the deck that he's been dealing from. It's that same kind of ratty, beaten up deck that was probably actually a very nice high-end deck that he won in a duel a long time ago, but it's been in his pocket in a crummy cardboard box that's falling apart for years traveling with him. And we'll transfer over to an empty table kind of towards the back with the people that are using the snapweed that are trying to disappear.
I'd order some food. I imagine like I look at or ask what like the specials are, and I get just like scoured at, and it's just the same old like refried beans, and just like, yeah, four of those, 4 refried beans, and I'd wait for the food to come and be like really inconspicuous. And I imagine that Hiram's like quite comfortable with the situation, but you can just tell that I'm not comfortable, and that everyone's like just still probably harassing me, making like offhanded comments, and I'm just like shaking my head. Like it blows my mind that people treat the law like this around here. You know, if the shoe was on the other foot and they were in trouble, who would they be coming to? But now that I'm here and trying to do business, this is how they treat me. But sorry, it's not what I'm here for. I know I said you were done.
Well, if you want a little easier time, I'd probably take off the star.
I look at him like, oh, like you just asked me to do probably the worst thing is what I look at you like, but then I unclip it and put it in my pocket. How's that?
All right, boys, that's enough. He's off duty. His star's away. And a few moments later, like people start to kind of calm down and they start kind of leaving us alone. The star does have some power, but at the same time, it does draw a lot of attention. And in this kind of place, if you're going to come here as a person, you might as well come here as a person.
He kind of laughs at that. Seems like around here, the only power that star has is to cause a whole heck of a lot of annoyance.
Oh, come on, Lance. You've arrested me more than enough times to know that I go willing. I know what power the star wields. And if you came in here and arrested any of them, or I should say caught them for anything, I'd make sure they'd go willingly as well. There's a system in place. Maybe a little broken, but it's a system.
Indeed. And I suppose we could talk about that for the entire day, but it's not what I'm here for.
Please enlighten me. And he digs into the refried beans.
Yeah, me too. I follow you up with that. And Skudadamuk, I try to say, but Lance will never be able to say it.
Oh, bless you, sir.
Thank you. Let's say I was someone who believed in words like that. And I'd also look to Matoskah too. I'd look to Wesley. We all seen something last night. We all went through something last night, something that I've never been through, something that I cannot explain because I was at that coroner's report and I know that coroner and I know he wouldn't be paid off. So say I was someone that believed in whatever the hell a Skudadamuk is. What would I know?
Well, According to the stories, it's usually a tormented witch. Someone that's come back from the grave and takes on a kind of a glowing appearance. Don't take too kindly to fire, as it turns out. And silver bullets work pretty well. They usually have some sort of purpose that revolves around revenge, but beyond that, it's kind of questionable as to what their purpose is. They exist for some time, even after enacting their revenge, until finally someone puts them down. Or at least that's how the stories go.
And I whisper to him, and is it down? Is this done?
I don't know that it was one of those things. Definitely had properties very similar, but it was different. And he kind of leans in to like return your posturing, and he says, there was some sort of silver arcane marking on it. Skidoogamook does not have that. Instead, it would seem kind of like a person without skin and a glowing spot in its stomach. This seemed more like a person. Whether it's alive or dead is questionable.
I'd nod, trying to, and like I imagine that's the exact moment where I'm trying to swallow some of the refried beans, and I'm having as much trouble swallowing those disgusting beans as I am this story, but I get it down. And I look over to Matoskah, and you, my friend, what does your tribe, where you hail from, say of these stories? Someone told me that I should speak to a tribal man and maybe hear what they have to say about these tales. So you seem like you know about this kind of stuff. What did your people teach you?
Very much same. In our stories, they drain blood and drink it. They have the stench of the below. And he kind of sniffs the air a little bit.
I think Wesley over there is going to have the stench of the below too pretty soon. So, and Ty, what is the law saying about this? Like a day after, obviously someone has been murdered. What are they going with now that obviously Hiram's off the hook? They have to have somebody that there's or something they're saying, right?
Yeah, they're just saying that it was a desperado passing through the town. Obviously, interested in stealing valuables like the silver revolver he spoke of. Just managed to lure poor Jeremiah out to the town and kill him. Just some outlaw. Just some outlaw.
So having trouble with that, knowing that they're lying about it, I would look to Hiram again and say, you seem to know a lot about this kind of stuff, and to Matoskah also. What if I was trying to learn some more about this? If there's something out there like that, then I need to know, and need to know how to deal with it. Obviously, you've seen how I fared against that. And then I kind of whisper, creature. I don't like being at that disadvantage.
I have been trained my whole life since very, very young in the tribe. Trained in the ways of tradition, spiritism. And still, I seem to know less than this white man. How did you learn? Most of your kind do not believe, much less comprehend.
How I learned wasn't nearly as important as the lessons. An expert in the area should have visited you, given you some instruction.
Well,
I'm not of the rank that I can give you that initial instruction.
Two folks visited me. Lawrence, who I gotta say doesn't give you a whole lot of rep, knowing that you associate with him. You know the rumors around town that something's obviously up with him. And then a Mr. Blackburn. Does that name mean anything to you?
Give me the history check, Chris.
Yeah. Don't think I have history. Yeah. So 21.
Blackburn. It rings a bell as, strangely enough, as being somebody very closely associated with Reapers, with the very beginning of the Reapers. One of the very first Reapers, in fact. One of the original 5 is what they call them. And Blackburn was the youngest of the 5.
So this is a supernatural world. Do I assume him to be dead or like beyond death?
That was like forever ago since the Reapers were first formed. He should be dead, like a long time dead.
Well, I know of a Blackburn, but that's ancient history by now. Maybe somebody related to him. Unless, of course, Blackburn showed up as a skeleton. Now, he wasn't a skeleton, was he?
I look at him like seriously and just say like, no. And then realize that you're poking fun at me.
As far as Lawrence, yeah. Unfortunately, he's going to become your friend too. And friend is probably the best term that you can use. Be optimistic.
What about me and you? We friends now?
I think we're associates.
Fair enough. So
now, if you don't mind, there is something I should show you and talk to you a little bit further about, but this isn't quite the forum for it. And Sheriff, I know that you and I have had a past history, but my intent is to take you upstairs, all of you, to the room that I have reserved at this tavern. There's a few things you should see.
I'd ask you if you take all your associates up to your room, and then poking back at you, say, let's go.
You know, I've never had the luck to have anybody long enough for that. And once he brings you all upstairs, it's that same familiar room that we saw in the last episode. And he opens up the monster hunting trunk that he has at the end of this like shabby bed. And he takes out like bear traps. There's these like random scribbles of paper with like tribal languages and then notes in Providence underneath them where there's like these kind of rough translations. There's like 10 pounds worth of silver, like cutlery and teapots and things like that are in a burlap bag that just spill out. There's like stakes inside there. It's a full monster hunting kit. So I imagine that it kind of fades away with him giving like the first like Reaper lesson to them. And like it starts with rule 1, always have silver. And he like drops the bag of silver and then it'll like fade out from that scene.
Yeah, so as you're being instructed in the way of the Reaper, we're gonna fast forward like a couple of hours. You guys are just kind of talking at this point. The first lesson's over. He's basically taught you like where to find silver, what its uses are, and that it's basically a Reaper's best friend in most situations. And you guys are kind of just talking when you hear raised shouts coming from outside.
I do want to say that if possible, I would get like an axe or something. I think you had mentioned an axe in last game that was silver.
My intent was to melt the silver and put it on and dip your axe in silver, because that would have been part of the way to get rid of this one of the types of creatures that we could have been facing.
Mm-hmm. And had you done that to like a separate axe or something? I can't really remember.
I've got all the silver. It hasn't been melted down yet.
Okay. Can we say that we did that during that time that we sort of prepped the weapons and got prepared? Would that work for you, Ty?
Yeah, sure. You just be at the smithy now, basically, instead of at the room. Yeah. Okay. Sure. So you guys are at this. Sorry. Go ahead.
Since he's dipping the axe, is there enough left over to make some more rounds? Because I used up some during the last combat.
Yeah. So are you melting down all of the silver, or are you keeping the silver box?
I'm gonna keep the box because that will be harder to replace. But like the
cutlery and the teapots and stuff, yeah.
Cutlery, all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So after you melt it down and purify it, you got enough to dip the axe. Maybe also to dip a dagger if you want to dip a dagger. If not, you'll have enough to make another like 10 rounds. If you do dip a dagger, you'll have enough to make another 5.
Is he selling a Bowie knife here?
Yeah, he's got a couple on the wall.
Yeah, I'll buy a Bowie knife and dip it. How much do they run? I don't have the document open.
Just like I haven't figured out money yet, so just do it how you feel like it makes sense. It's up to you. Yeah. So the smith would kind of. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I got an idea for that then. Hiram's gonna haggle with it because there's no real established prices in Crow's Gulch. And what I'd like to do is make a persuade roll, which Hiram's terrible at. So let's see how that goes. Going back and forth, I think his offer is 5 gold, and my persuade roll is a total of 4. So I feel like I'm probably going to get told that I need to pay more for this.
You had a 4 total?
Yeah, a total of 4.
Yeah. So the smith, his name is Donovan. He kind of just crosses his arms and like looks you in the eyes. Hiram, my price stands.
All right. Well, it was worth a shot. So, like I said, I think 5 was what Hiram was trying to haggle him down to. Where did we start with it then?
I don't know if I'd say 5 gold so much as 5 silver, because it's not going to be that well, probably a gold actually, more like. But then he would just kind of like smile at you. I mean, he kind of likes like you're a pretty frequent customer, I think. So he would kind of just like smile and give you a wink. And he gives you a better deal than you expected. He get 8 silver instead of a gold.
Okay.
And you were asking for 9. He even gives you 1 lower than you were asking for.
I rounded up to an even gold, anyways.
That's fine.
Covering for like dipping the axe and dipping the sword, or the dagger rather, or Bowie knife. There we go.
Bowie knife, yeah. So he would just kind of smile and like give you a little bit better of a deal, but it rounds out to 1 gold anyways. And he would kind of take the leftover silver and start pouring it into the casings, start making the casings for you. These should be done. Well, they need to cool. So come back in several hours and they should be ready.
All right. I think that'll just about, and then that's probably when we get interrupted.
Yeah, you hear the angry shouts at about that point. You can't distinguish what they're saying, but you can hear them outside by the oasis.
Lance, I think it might be time for you to put that star back on.
I'm already doing so and heading out the door.
Yeah, so you'd step outside to see those officials, those people who were wearing the, like the very kind of nice getup with the out kind of labeled, like inscribed onto their overcoats, basically. They're what are they called? Westkits? No, not Westkits. I don't sweater vest, like not like sweater vest, like the vest thing, like the suit vest. Can't remember what they're called. But there's like no sleeves on it. Basically, what Pickering was wearing. They're shouting with the oldest of the of the children, of the Boughton children, Marcellus. And they're exchanging loud words with each other, yelling back and forth. And now that you're kind of outside, you see there's a kind of a crowd gathering, and the main kind of like this, like one of the people from out is kind of standing forward. Boughton, you know that we could take better care of this water than you can. You need to stop being selfish with it. And Marcellus looks at him, selfish with it. This water we sell is practically free. Rather than the exorbitant, ridiculous prices you charge, Lawrence. Different Lawrence, by the way, not Pickering. So he's kind of like, they're kind of just looking at each other back and forth, staring daggers at one another as you guys arrive on the scene.
Yeah, I'd kind of walk out and go, like, break it up, I guess, get in between them, and just what seems to be the problem here.
Boughton will kind of just look at you and say, everything's fine, deputy. Nothing that we need your help with at the moment. Just a couple of rats sneaking into the city when they shouldn't be.
Well, Marcellus, unfortunately, now that I'm here and you're causing a bit of a scene, it has actually become a bit of my issue now. So I'd look over. Rats, apologize. It's probably not your name. My name is Lance O'Connor. I'm the deputy around here. Seems to be the issue.
This man, this other Lawrence, kind of turns and looks at you and says, I am a representative out. I believe you might have heard of us. We have stations in Abundance, Smokeholm, and several other nearby cities. We are looking to generously purchase up this oasis and take it into the hands of our corporation. We need to unite all of the oases so that we can not run out of water throughout all the rest of the Providence. This is the only northern oasis, and the Boughton's apparently can't see reason and won't sell.
Well, you know, the best way to assure reason between another person is to stand in the middle of the streets and yell back and forth about it. That's one thing that I've definitely learned.
And he would just look at you. Mind your place, deputy. Besides, I wasn't the one that started the yelling. That would be our good friend, Mr. Marcellus Boughton here, wouldn't it?
I'd look over and just be like, come on, Marcellus? No way. He would not do something like that. Anyways, what the point is I don't care who said, who did. Knock it off, gentlemen. Act like some adults here. Take your business elsewhere and get off the streets.
I believe Marcellus has made it quite clear the business is concluded. And he'd look him in the eyes and lean forward and whisper something to Marcellus, and Marcellus would just like kind of like get this like angry look in his eyes. Roll me an insight check, Hiram, as this man kind of turns and looks at you.
All right. That is a total of 5.
Okay, you don't fully catch the look he gives you. What you do manage to notice, though, is there is a slight flicker of recognition, but you don't know how deep that recognition is. It's just kind of like he kind of gives you like a second look and then turns and walks away with this group.
Which water company did he say he was from? It sounded like there was a little bit of like audio clipping on that word that you were saying.
Owen Water Trading.
So Owen Water Trading Company.
Owen Water Trading Company. Okay. Yeah, I think it's not only that like Hiram doesn't like catch the glance, like he catches it too late because he's sitting here trying to figure out which water trading company this is. And he doesn't quite recognize it.
Yeah, so they turn and like walk away, strange, like weirdly uniform in their step.
As they walk away, I'd look at Marcellus. Just, what's that all about? Yelling in the streets?
They had the gall to come up to our manor and demand that we sell to them. So we went for a walk, have a discussion, air it out. Well, they won't take no for an answer. I don't know if you've noticed, Deputy, they've been back several times over the past year. They keep asking, we keep telling them no. It's just as simple as that. This time, they demanded that we meet them down here. The nerve, I swear. Only to call me and my family criminals, liars, tyrants, and pretty much every other unsavory name you can think of.
Give him kind of a smile. The nerve. Can't imagine.
Sarcasm. Never was one of your strongest suits, though you do attempt to make it so.
Hey,
Deputy, let me make it perfectly clear here. I know you're new. And he talks over you, like he talks just right over you. You're new here. There's a system, Deputy. We handle the way things work in this town. If you haven't noticed, we're one of the few independent towns on the north. And we do a good job. We're one of the few towns capable of growing our own crops still. We're one of the few towns capable of maintaining its own dueling ring. We're one of the few towns capable of bringing in any source of income or wealth rather than just maintaining a steady decline. We do well here because of me and my family. Now, Mr. O'Connor, I suggest that you recognize that and that this sarcasm disappears. And he leans forward. Do I make myself understood, Deputy?
I let him over talk me and go on his rant. And then I step in and I say, Mr. Bone, I do know my place. Point to the badge that I have on. Been sent here for a reason. And don't doubt for 1 second that I don't know what that reason is. I know how you run things here. And I know the system that you have in place. But don't think for a second that I don't know where I stand.
Are you threatening me?
I'm just doing my job, sir.
You do yours then. And let me do mine by taking care of these people, by providing food to the people of Crow's Gulch, and water as well.
Well, then carry on and do your job, sir.
Yeah, you know that Marcellus is representative for water and agriculture too for the city. So he's like in charge of like all of that stuff.
I'm already walking away.
Yeah.
Good day to you, Boughton.
Mr. Deputy, I'm pretty sure that that dead man didn't get up by himself. So how about you do your job and focus on something that you can actually make a difference in? And he turns around and walks away, having to have the last word.
I'll let him have it. Go back.
Yeah, and Marcel. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What?
I just go back up to the other three who are probably, along with a bunch of other people watching the spectacle now.
Yeah, and as he's walking away, your back's turned to him. You turn and look at you, Hiram, look you directly in the eyes. And he kind of just gives you this, like, knowing look. Like, kind of like a... More of like a remember who your friends are type thing.
Yeah, Hiram stayed back. Like, he stepped out of the smithy, and he's like, it's got that covered patio that like all the Western style buildings in this area do, and he's leaned up against the pole. He's just been watching from afar. But when he catches eye with Marcellus, he'll nod. Well, speaking of the Bowtons, I think it's about time I paid the family a visit. I've got a lesson to teach.
I would thank you for, you seem to be a man that teaches a lot. Thanks for what you showed us today.
Yeah, hopefully Hopefully you'll be around for the next lesson. And he kind of like claps him on the shoulder and just walks away.
I would yell out, "It won't be that easy, Hiram. Quit dreaming."
So you make your way up the street towards Boughton Manor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As you kind of make your way up this road, kind of curving up along this cliffside, the houses basically get ritzier and ritzier and ritzier, just nicer and nicer, more expensive and fancy until you reach, the pinnacle of the peak. It kind of overlooks all of Crow's Gulch, resting by itself on a large kind of plateau of stone. Boughton Manor. They actually have the luxury of being able to water their plants up here. It's right above the waterfall that kind of pours down into the oasis. It's just a beautiful building, and as you approach, kind of like you see that they even kind of have like a wooden palisade type thing surrounding the house. Guards kind of walking along it. A couple of people at the gate, and they kind of look at you as they approach. One of them kind of just smiles, walking towards you and extending a hand of greeting. Just one of the guards, one of the regular. What's his name?
This is Samuel. He's been with the Boughton family for quite some time. He's actually a local kid. The Boughtons picked him up, gave him a job as kind of a sentry gate guard for their property. Completely oblivious to the work that the Boughtons do outside of like the fact that they're rich and own the water. Completely innocent kid that probably will get wrapped up for their crimes eventually.
As you're walking up there, Hiram, you would probably hear like a hoot or something. It's been a long day. Dusk is arriving, and an owl soars overhead, and it would do something kind of unexpected. It would probably sort of dive down and land on your shoulder. Kind of look around and like sort of turn its head at you, like sort of do the really way too far turning thing with its head, blink a couple times, and then turn its head back forward. And it would just hoot.
Hiram's gonna freak the fuck out because this is a big old barn owl that has just decided to land on his shoulder. Like he's gonna bat the owl. Doesn't know anything about what's happening. Like, get off of me, you bird of prey! Like,
all right. The owl would fly away. But if you were paying attention, you might notice it sort of circling and following from the sky.
I don't think he'd piece it together, but he would definitely watch and like have a conversation with Samuel and be like, "What the hell was wrong with that crazy bird? I don't think I've ever seen an owl do that before. At least nothing that wasn't trained by one of the circus people." And then he kind of looks at Samuel and he goes, "There isn't a circus in town, is there?"
Not as far as I'm aware, though the deputy brings his own kind of entertainment, right? And he kind of like shoves you in the shoulder with like a smile and a nod.
Yes. Deputy kept me busy, unfortunately. But I'm not here for that business. I'm here for a lesson.
Yes, young Master Lester. He's been very excited.
Excellent.
As far as I'm aware, he's already out at the range shooting. So if you want to just, and he kind of like nods towards the garden. He opens up the gate. You know where it is.
Perfect. Thanks, Samuel. And
it just
tell your
nods
mom
to
I
you.
said hi.
Yes, of course. I will tell her.
And he's going to head towards the shooting range. But what he's doing is he's looking for Dennis. If Dennis is around, he's probably going to make a detour.
Yeah, you'd see kind of as you're making your way kind of around the side of the house, they've got like a shooting range in the back. You would see Lester standing there kind of like aiming down his revolver, kind of like trying to take aim, taking a shot. Nat 20, hitting the dead center of the target, one of the better shots you've seen him do. Then he kind of just whoops in like happiness, and you hear kind of like clapping and shouts of encouragement from this kind of like veranda, like on the back porch. They've got kind of like this like tile veranda that kind of comes out. It's covered by like one of those old Spanish like patio roofing, like the tiles, the terracotta tiles. And beneath it, Dennis is standing watching him, speaking with somebody, a woman. She's wearing kind of like a very formal like business dress, basically. They're speaking in hushed tones. He kind of turns back to her and starts speaking as Lester takes aim again. And kind of he notices you, looks at her, says one last thing, nods, and she turns and walks away.
Yeah, and as Hiram gets closer, he'll take off his hat and be respectful now that he's made it into the building and everything. Mr. Bowden, I hope I'm not interrupting anything.
No, of course not, Hiram. It's always a pleasure to be able to talk with you. One of our best duelists, shining stars. It kind of slaps you on the shoulder. What could I do for you?
I don't know if you've heard, but Marcellus got involved in a conversation with the Owen Water Trading Company. Does that name mean anything to you?
The Owen Water Trading Company. Well, all I can say is that they're a bunch of thugs, thieves, and vandals. They've been trying to kick us out of Crow's Gulch for quite some time, along with the peacekeepers, of course, but they're trying to take over everything. They're just interested in the Oasis. Way I hear it, they're aiming for that monopoly approach. Oh, we're not going to let them have it, but they're trying. I'll give them one thing, they're persistent.
Is this related to that Dennis Brabham fellow?
Dennis Brabham, and he kind of like pauses for a second, like thinking.
My last duel. And Dennis knows that it was the last illegal duel that was performed.
Yeah, he kind of just like slowly nods. Dennis, truly a shame on that one. Mildly, yes, but we protect our own. That might have been one of the unsanctioned ones, but they don't know who it was. So they can't really pin that on you. At least I don't think they know who it was. It was a rather small turnout, if I recall. Only 15 or so in attendance to witness the duel.
Well, I suppose that's good. But if they are who you say they are, let me know if you need any further assistance on the subject. I don't like my work half done.
And he just nods. That Lawrence man, he's becoming a bit of an issue. Nothing we can't handle yet, but we'll be in touch. Oh, I almost forgot. Your winnings from the last duel. And he kind of reaches into, and you didn't have a duel recently. Mm-hmm. He reaches into his pocket and kind of pulls out a small pouch of money and sets it in your hand. We appreciate what you do. I never thought you'd have to kill a man twice, though.
I didn't think so either. A little surprised that the coroner announced him dead. The deputy seems to think otherwise. I had a little conversation with him, but I think he paid off the coroner, to be honest. It's not the first time a man around Providence has faked his own death to get out of something.
He nods. Well, Marvin did owe us quite a debt. It would make sense. Skip out on a loan, come back and steal more from us, I suppose.
Yeah. Seems the way of some of these folks. Now,
Indeed.
If you don't mind, looks like Lester might be ready for a twist draw. His aim's getting a lot better these days.
He'd look over at Lester and see him. He's trying to mimic your twist draw. He doesn't think anyone's looking. He looked back and saw you guys talking, so he's trying to mimic it. And you see him just drop the gun, fumble it to the ground. A string of curses flowing from his mouth. And you see Dennis kind of like just shake his head. He'll have to learn eventually, I suppose. Yes, I think it is time. I think Father would approve. Speaking of which, he might have a job for you. How about you come back tonight? I'm sure he'll be in more of a speaking mood by then. The water trading company always puts him in a bad mood.
Should I dress for dinner?
Yes, I think so. The way I hear it, Mama's cooking up some nice steaks tonight.
Well, then that'll be a pleasure. I've had nothing but beans in the last week, so I could definitely use some meat.
Well, her steaks are always the best. Maybe I can talk her into making some cornbread too.
You do know the way to my heart, Dennis. And he'll take the bag, and he doesn't like open it because that would be disrespectful, but like he kind of hefts it a little bit, and you can see through the hole that he's being paid in silver. It's the one benefit that that having a cover as a duelist has for Hiram. He always gets paid in silver.
Yeah, so I mean, he'd see you just kind of like discreetly check the bag and kind of give you a wink, and kind of put an arm on, like a hand on your shoulder, and kind of walk with you to the edge of the veranda, back down the stairs onto the lawn, basically. And before you can walk away, he would look at you. We've done a bit of research, by the way, on that revolver. The copy is made of yours, the exact likeness. You pop men out.
I mean, it's a custom peacemaker, but I didn't think it'd be that hard to duplicate.
See, the thing is, it's not that hard to duplicate, but somebody went to the effort to do so. Look, Hiram, you're part of the family, and the family takes care of one another. If you need anything, if somebody comes after you, you let us know. And he gives you like a pointed look. Like I said, he gives you this pointed look, and he says, you let us know is not an inconvenience. You make sure you let us know.
Of course. I think your father, you might be interested, but I'm working on bringing the deputy over as well. So if you see me and him around a little bit more often, don't think I'm up to anything other than trying to see if we can establish some more alliances inside that sheriff's office.
And he smiles and nods, of course. And I'm sure Wayne isn't giving you any trouble, right? We pay him well to be discreet.
No, Wayne's doing his job diligently. I mean, I knew I had to be arrested. That wasn't a big surprise. But Wayne made sure that I was comfortable. He put me in the right cell this time.
All right. Good. Well, Lester's waiting. You can see him tapping his foot over there, rather impatient, like Papa. And go ahead and teach him that twist draw. That'll be good for him.
Absolutely. And yeah, Hiram goes over and begins teaching him like how to actually like grip the gun, how it should actually be placed. Because what he noticed was the boy has the motion mostly correct, but his holster is too far forward. So when he does his twist, he's actually grabbing too far forward. So he's like catching the barrel on the holster as he goes to draw. A few fine tweaks later, he's able to slowly walk through a twist draw.
Yeah. And Lester is like an avid pupil. He loves dueling as much as anyone, really. He's super in love with it. And the fact that he gets to learn from Hiram 2 lives means a lot to him. So he's avid, he listens, he's an excited learner, and he's a quick learner too. So just the best student you could probably ask for. And we're going to take a break at that. So go ahead and take a 10-minute break. We'll be right back. We'll go to the bathroom, get a drink, get some food, and we'll be back up after the break.
A wild dire cat appears. Meow. What is up, my good dude?
Not much. It's a little kitty cat.
There's a cute-looking furry animal you have there.
He is very cute. He's also very annoying. He's also eating my hand. Sir. Sir. You done munching on my hand now?
Never.
Oh.
That's fun.
Yep.
Oh. What's his name?
Hannibal.
Hannibal? That's an appropriate name.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
I dislike cats that have cute names. I'm like, no, this is a ferocious,
Some
monstrous
Morbius.
predator. This thing kills things for pleasure. You want to call him Mr. Fluffykins? Like, no, this is,
That is by far,
Pterosaur gigantuous,
that is by far the most metal cat name I've heard.
Fluffykins.
So is Wes going to get into any trouble today?
I don't know. Depends on if Wes puts his nose where it doesn't belong. Or if, his farm burns down again. Like, come on.
He's just a poor bean salesman that wants to get by in
I'm
life.
just a poor little boy. I ain't done nothing wrong. Them spirits have been hollering something at me. Mr. Matoskah here can certainly hear something, but I can't. I ain't hear nothing. Them angry folk. You want me to pay him off in my beans? Heavy beans.
Those big old heavy ones.
Some heavier than gold. Lead, maybe.
Silver beans.
Silver beans.
The ultimate weapon.
Did you just attack my chair? Thank you, sir. You just charged at my chair and then ran off.
That is a war beast for sure.
He's a war beast. Like, if he was
What up,
10
man?
times his size, he would kill things.
No
How
doubt.
you
Things
guys feeling
by-
about
I
the
mean-
session so far?
Very
What's that?
insidious. I like it.
I said, how are you feeling about the session so far?
It's very hilarious. I mean, nefarious.
Oh yeah, nefarious.
Insidious is the way I would put it.
You've seen the stuff that goes on behind the scenes in Crow's Gulch.
It's quiet. Too quiet.
Two cried on
Oh,
the
okay.
Crow's front gulch.
I'm sticking my nose where it don't belong. I cannot stop eating tonight. I have like this serious case of the munchies, which is terrible when you work at a restaurant because it's borderline your job to eat. And then I just came home and started mocking some snacks.
Your job to eat? Is that what you said?
Pretty much. That's how I look at it.
Oh, man.
I'm back. Sorry.
Eating is like the worst thing you do in my restaurant. It's
You
like,
don't
oh man, did you sneak us Skittles? Oh man, you're fired.
Do you work at a restaurant?
Not like just a little chain restaurant, nothing
Nah.
fancy.
They don't let you eat?
Nope.
Jeez. That is oppressive.
Yeah,
Man,
Super
down
impressive.
down with chain restaurants. Down with the man.
Yeah.
down with the small managerial staff that just are taking lashings from the big corp that doesn't care about how the restaurant gets actually ran, as long as the
You don't
numbers
wanna-
look good.
Hunger strike. Hunger strike.
Yeah, I got we're pretty chill with it at our work. Like as long as we're not like throwing on 8-ounce steaks and just going to town on those, we're allowed to have whatever.
That's pretty cool. Kind
Yeah.
of jealous.
No doubt.
We get like free meals whenever we're inconvenienced though, which is nice.
Nice. So just be inconvenient because like you work at a restaurant,
Well, like,
so your job
yeah.
is to be also inconvenienced. So
So more so than normal, you know. It's like, oh man, you got to stay later today. Here you go. Here's a free meal. Or, oh, today's been a really shitty day. Here you go, everyone. We can all just kind of share this big
Yeah.
smorgasbord, you know.
nice.
Nice.
I suddenly realized I've been sitting here for like 3 minutes with my microphone muted and my camera turned off. I'm like, why is nobody talking to me? Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're just ignoring you, Chris. Sorry, man.
Good job.
I thought my jokes were funny.
After playing such a convincing character, we didn't want to give you anything more to go off of. It's just
hmm
yeah. So everybody take a point of inspiration again. You guys are doing great this session. Awesome role play. Wesley's hilarious. I love the way Hiram is doing things. I love how you're handling it, getting involved. Good job on the deputy and Matoskah playing off of his little character and following instincts not to trust people. Good idea. Terrible investigation roll. We're going to narrate that right now. So you circle the mansion from the sky, Matoskah, looking down and you watch kind of Hiram kind of walk around the edge of the house, circling around the back, and he speaks with Dennis for a while. Where are you going? What are you doing?
You mentioned that there was like sort of a balcony that people were clapping at or something.
Yeah, that's where Dennis was watching Lester shoot his pistol.
So, Dennis was on the balcony?
Yeah, Dennis was standing on the balcony talking with Hiram while Lester was over at the shooting range.
Oh, okay. I thought they were like around the grounds and there was a separate balcony. Well, are there any other sort of similar balconies or areas that are sort of open to the house? Would I spot any of the boutons walking around the grounds? Any place that the Boutons? Yeah, sorry.
While you're circling, owls have like super good perception, right?
Yeah, they have advantage on sight and hearing-based perception rolls, and they have a +3.
Make me a perception check then.
20.
Okay, yeah. As you're circling above, you'd see that there's like one of these big, huge, like 4 massive paned glass windows on the second floor. They're open, and as you kind of fly lower and kind of perch on the outside, just barely out of sight, you'd be able to kind of crane your neck down and see that it's like a huge master bedroom. This like huge 4-poster, like queen size, like king size bed, just gigantic, lush, overflowing with pillows and blankets, and the room is just lavishly decorated, like very nice carpet, just all of these luxuries that other houses don't have. You look in through the window and you can see an older man kind of lying in bed. He's coughing into a kerchief that somebody's holding up to his mouth, and it comes away red with blood. What's the name of the daughter? Oh wait, you didn't name the daughters. I named the daughters.
There was Marianne, and there was
Liza.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't know her name yet or the man, but you can assume that it's Randall Boughton. The woman, you don't know her, but her name is Liza. She's a blonde. She's dressed kind of primly, very nice, though simple clothing. She's kind of standing over this man, kind of holding the kerchief to his mouth, and she kind of just shakes her head. Father, you need to take better care of yourself. And she takes the kerchief and like puts it on the table next to him and hands him like a really intricately carved like a nice glass of water. You can see that there's water condensation dewing on the outside of it. It's very cold. And she hands it to him to take a drink, kind of helping him along the way. You need to take care of yourself. Otherwise, what would we do without you? And he kind of just smiles and shakes his head. Daughter, I have taught you well. You and your brothers could handle things fine without me. But what about Mama? Mama couldn't handle it without you. And he shakes his head. That might be true, but I don't think I'm going anywhere anytime soon. And he would kind of look up as there's a knock on the door. And Liza would look at him with like a frown and look at the door, and he kind of just nods. And she would walk over and open it. And a man would walk in. He's kind of dressed head to toe in like he's got like a leather jacket, like kind of like very nice like rawhide pants. He's wearing like a hat brought down over his face, which he takes off, and you see on his chest there's a peacekeeper badge. And he kind of just takes off the hat, looks at Randall lying in bed, who looks at Liza and just kind of nods to her. I believe that our friend here wishes to have a private conversation, Liza. And Liza would look at him, but father, she starts to like complain, and he just shakes his head. No. Let us speak alone, please, my dear daughter. And she would just nod and turn and walk back out. He would look up at the man who kind of watches over his shoulder as Liza shuts the door. And he walks across the room to stand in front of Randall's bed. Randall, I see that your sickness is not... And he looks at the red handkerchief sitting on the table. Abating in any small way. You don't look like you're handling yourself very well, old friend. And Randall just shakes his head. I'm not going anywhere, Carson. And if you've brought another deal, I'm not selling the Oasis to the water traders or to the peacekeepers. I'm not here about that, Randall. I'm here about something more important. And he kind of will walk over and sit on the edge of the bed next to him, and he starts whispering. They start talking back and forth to each other. You can't hear it anymore. You'll have to get closer if you want to.
I would try to get closer.
Okay, maybe a stealth check. At disadvantage as they're kind of flying through the window.
Let me look up my stealth real quick. Disadvantage, huh?
I'll just give you a -2, actually. That seems more fair to me.
All right. Well, I have +3, so I'm at +1. 13.
You make a bit of a ruckus as you come in through the window. Randall kind of turns his head and looks over, but he doesn't see you. You've managed to land on the floor. You're just barely beneath his eyesight. And he kind of just like shakes his head and looks back at the peacekeeper sitting on the bed next to him. Carson, would you mind shutting the window? It's getting a bit stuffy in here. Carson just kind of nods and stands up and starts walking around the edge of the bed. And need another stealth check, this time normal, to get behind something to get out of the way.
18.
Okay. You what do you manage to hide behind? What do you hop behind?
Under the bed.
Okay, yeah, you hop forward real quick and like scoot underneath the sheets and get beneath the bed, basically.
Oh yeah, not under the sheets. Like I'm not.
No. I know. I'm saying like you had to move the comforter out of the way to get beneath the bed.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, so you slide beneath the bed and you're kind of just like standing there in the darkness. You hear the window shut and footsteps moving their way back over. As Carson sits down, and you hear the bed kind of sinks down a bit. And they start speaking again. Carson speaks first. Randall, my friend, you're not well. And this business isn't doing any favors for you as well either. Perhaps you should consider letting the Oasis go. You hear Randall cough and laugh. You old dog, trying to convince me that I should get rid of the Boughton family business, huh? Randall, it's killing you. The binding. I know it's a legacy passed down father to son. I get it. I know. But it's killing you, Randall. Your father died found himself in an early grave. Your great-grandfather found himself in an early grave. Your grandfather, your great-great-grandfather, all the way back. You have to let it go, Randall. You have to let it go. Can't do that, Carson. All these people, they depend upon the family. I won't be the one to turn this place into a ghost town. Please, friends, see reason. I've given you my answer, Carson, and it's not changing. Maybe you can convince Marcellus, but I doubt it. He's even more honor-bound than I am to keep this place alive. You hear him stand to his feet, Carson. The bed kind of rises a little bit. Very well, friend. I'll try and convince him. And I wish you would see reason, though. You're dealing with things, with forces that you shouldn't be dealing with. And he kind of just shakes his head and steps away. And Randall speaks up again. Carson, that deputy that you had assigned here is becoming quite a nuisance. Carson kind of looks over his shoulder at him. I didn't assign him here, but I'll see what I can do. And he turns around and walks away. The door opening and shutting behind him. It's quiet for several minutes before you hear the telltale sound of snoring as Randall falls asleep.
Did Carson? I would poke my head out. Did Carson close the window?
Yes, sir, he did.
Okay, well, with him asleep, I would look around the room and see if there is any... I know it seems like this guy might have trouble getting out of bed sometimes, if there's any sort of correspondence lying around. Any letters or anything that I could sort of grasp that I would be able to read later or take to someone who could read it.
You'd see a small writing desk over in the corner. With a couple of letters and neatly penned pieces of parchment that aren't, folded up and put into envelopes yet.
How the heck am I going to get out of here? The door's closed?
Yes, sir.
Man, okay. I think I would... Man, what would Matoskah do? I think I would take some of the correspondence and drag it under... No, that'd make too much noise. I think I would hang out under the bed. I think
Okay.
I would wait there, and I would wait... I would wait until I was alone in the room.
Until Randall leaves too? Because Randall's kind of bedbound.
Oh, did he seem that bad?
Yeah, he's pretty sick.
All right. Oh, man. I screwed myself. Okay, I will, I will... Man, okay, I will turn back into Matoskah, and I will knock him out.
You're gonna knock Randall out?
Yep, he's sleeping.
Okay.
I'm gonna very discreetly, turn back into my normal self, clonk him as hard as I can on the head in his sleep with the back end of like my axe, like the opposite side.
Yeah.
Sort of knock him out, and then I'm gonna open the window and leave, and fly out the window as an owl.
I'm gonna have him roll a perception check to see if he wakes up. Okay, that's an 18. So his eyes kind of flutter, and he as he hears like somebody stepping around in his room, and he kind of smiles. He says, "Liza, I told you I was taking a nap." And he looks over, and he sees this big man standing over him, and he looks up at you, and he says, "Who are you?" And this is right before you could hit him over the head. So go ahead and make me an attack roll.
Would I get advantage on this?
Yep.
For him being prone?
Yeah, go ahead.
$17.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna say that I'm gonna have him roll a con save against it. He gets a 4, so he fails. You hit him over the head with the butt end of your axe. Just bam! And he just kind of like, his eyes roll back in his head and he slumps to the side. And yeah, he's out cold. You see that you might have hit him a little bit harder. I mean, this dude's frail, he's old. And there's like a trickle of blood kind of going down the side of his face where you hit him.
Well, I hope I hit him hard enough that he forgot that he saw me and won't be able to recognize me. Matoskah wouldn't go ahead, like, kill someone in cold blood, so he would very hurriedly grab the documentation that was on the desk and open the window. I mean, he couldn't have opened it in his owl form, so he would open the window and change back into an owl with the papers grasped sort of in its talons and fly out, get away.
Okay. Yeah, you fly out the window. You pass overhead. You hear gunshots ringing out as Hiram's teaching Lester how to do the quick draw, the twist draw. You see them like smiling and laughing together as he makes a fumbled attempt that was close but not quite on par. Then we're gonna head back down the street, back into Crow's Gulch. Matoskah has disappeared. Wesley and Lance, what are you guys doing?
Well, son, should we head back to the farm and get building that barn?
I reckon it'd be good to raise a barn here. Yeah, if you don't mind me asking you, if you kind, Mr. Deputy Lance, sir, it'd be a mighty honor.
All right, I'll see who I can gather. I heard there's a couple men volunteering to help, and I'll meet you up there.
Shucks.
Go check on your mom or whatever, and I'll be up there within the hour.
It's mighty kind of you, sir. You've all of the Burke's gratitude. Thank you, Mr. Sheriff, sir.
They're a good family. Make sure you take care of them. And then I would see if I can get some volunteers to go help doing some barn building.
And I will head back to the farm.
Where are you going searching for helpers?
Going through my NPCs. I'd go to the Smith family. See if I can get old Boone.
Okay. And Boone has a couple brothers too.
Yeah. So the Boone family. See what old Jeb's up to. I know that Jeb kind of has a bit of a, not a circuit, not a, what am I thinking of? Like a network of people that sell for him, right? So maybe I can.
Well, he's kind of one of the pillars in the community. Like he's over all of the families that sell like beets, radishes, and like potatoes and stuff. Like all the root plants basically. Because like the farming area is like separated out into like cordoned off sections of certain food types. So you've got like all the roots and then like all the stock plants like corn and wheat and like all that and beans.
Yeah, so I'll go talk to Jeb and see who Jeb can put together.
Hey, yeah, so you'd go and find Jeb then. Wes, are you going straight back to your house?
Yep.
Okay. So we'll do Jeb first and then we'll do Wes. So you get to sorry guys, got something in my throat. 1 second. Okay, yeah. So you get to the Smiths. You can see Jeb out in the field with like his several sons. Oh no, wait, you went to see Boone first.
Yeah, I imagine actually now that I think about it, like maybe I'm thinking about Boone, but then old Jeb makes sense because he'll probably just get the Smith family and everybody else since he has a bit of a network.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, so you'd see like all like the fields kind of just stretching on for like a great distance, and Jeb and like his sons are out like working in the fields basically. You see them carting water to different rows and different plants, keeping the trenches full. You see them like pulling weeds and like keeping everything just like tilling the ground, like mixing the dirt up basically. And Jeb will kind of see you standing at the edge of the farm, and he kind of like raise a hand and like start walking towards you, like yelling instructions to his oldest son to keep on working, make sure that they finish, like dealing with this area.
His oldest is Butch?
No, his youngest is Butch. His oldest is, we'll go with Bart.
Bart and Butch. All right. Howdy Jeb. How's it going today?
Well, same old, deputy. Just making sure the crops grow. Shame what happened over at the Burke farm.
Yeah, funny you mentioned that. That's what I'm up here for today.
I figured as much.
I was wondering if you could lend a few helping hands. Obviously, what happened to the family is terrible. Father gone already, and now another one of the kids. The mom's not doing too great, and Wesley's he's pulled together really well, but I think we need to come together as a community here and give them a hand. I don't think they can afford to lose that many crops in a barn around this time of season.
Yeah, I'm aware of their situation. We've got a roster together. We'll have people working on building that barn day in and day out until it's done. We've got a rotation going.
Perfect. Been meaning to get around to talking to you too. I don't know if you were told, but your son there, your youngest, Butch, kind of got into a bit of trouble again the other day. So I let him off the hook, but I wouldn't mind maybe if he did a little bit of community service. It might do him well.
He kind of looks over at Butch, who's like sullenly like cleaning the area around a plant. He's just like he's not into it. This is one kid is probably not going to end up a farmer. So he's like just angrily like ripping these weeds out of the ground, just like so bored, so angry. And he like looks over at Butch and he kind of looks back at you. Honestly, I think it'd do him better than having him help me around here anyways. He's not well, let's just say he's not born to cultivate.
Perfect. Send him on over then. We could use all the hands that we can get right around now. Let's get it built quick. And then
yeah, he nods. He's like, I'll tell him to be over there every day.
Then I'll go back over to Wes and help.
Yeah, okay, cool. So you guys are well, what do you know about building barns?
Oh, let me tell you. Not a whole lot.
Okay, I figured as much. Yeah, this is like one area, Wes, where you're like super proficient, I imagine.
Yeah.
Is building and tinkering and like making stuff. Like that's like your thing. So like I feel like you'd surprise him with your depth of knowledge that you have about this after building it with your dad, you said. So you're basically leading the operations. What are you doing? What jobs are you assigning out?
Well, first, you got to build the darndest, biggest floor you got. A sturdy floor will make a sturdy barn. He's just like orchestrating this. This is the most like prowess you've seen Wes like ever have. he's just like, everyone's like, yep, sure. And there's all this like, hammering down planks and getting the floor laid down. And meantime, we're building beams to just kind of erect the barn. But he's never like standing around doing nothing. He's always got his hands on something. Sweat's just dripping down his brow. His back is just blistering and turning like a beet in the sunlight. Or I guess I should say his neck, not his back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the while, even under this hot sun, you feel that cool press of steel, of silver against your back, just constantly there. And tell me, how does he feel? Is he itching to pull this gun out and look at it again, or how does he feel towards it right now after shooting it the night before?
He's kind of on one track of mind right now. He's very purposefully ignoring it. He's trying his darndest to make sure that it's not what he's thinking about. But by doing so, he's thinking about it in a weird, twisted irony.
Yeah, go ahead and give me like my goodness. I want to say like some sort of intelligence check at advantage to get like the first, like the foundation and like the beams up for this barn. See how effective your first day of work is.
Well, thank goodness for that advantage. That's a 15.
Yeah, so your first day is pretty good. You get the floor down, the foundation. You get the beams in, and like you see the start of the wall. You don't have the roof on yet, and you've started to like build the loft basically a little bit. So you got a pretty good amount of work done on the first day. There's a lot of people helping, a lot of people from the community showing up and being there to support your family. You see some of the families have even brought you guys like some of their own crops basically to hold you guys over until you can get like a new field planted and like get some stuff to sell to make some money. And a couple of people, you see them approach your mom and like hand her like a box, and you know that what's in the box is moonshine. Kind of like to help her get through these hard times. They just know that she's kind of a broken woman after your dad disappeared, basically. So they are helping however they can. The community is very tightly knit.
Mm-hmm. And while you had said earlier that there's like these rotations or shifts kind of going on between people walking in, walking out, cycling to build the barn, Wes is not having any of that. He's just always toiling, even going into the night until he just like collapses, leaning against some plank of wood and catching some Z's and unintentionally after just working such a hard day.
Yeah, so I mean, and like kind of like halfway through kind of this whole process of the day, Marcellus would show up with like a whole bunch of their house, like their bodyguards, basically. They're all just dressed to work. Marcellus joins in too. He doesn't know as much what he's doing. He's kind of like the deputy in that regard, but he's there, and like I think that's what counts. Like the people notice that he's there, and so he's there helping, doing a bit of PR, and helping you guys build your barn, basically, doing what he can.
And yeah, Wes thanks every single one of them, whoever shows up by name, just like clapping them on the back or give them a handshake. Oh, thanks for showing up, Mr. Sir, whatever each person's name is, and making sure to, on a personal to personal level, just like this is what he does, Wes. He's a very personal person. Make sure that he thanks every single person that shows up.
Is Wes the oldest too of the siblings now?
He's not the old. Well, I guess now. I mean,
Yeah.
because of this fateful injury / death of his brother, yeah, he'd be the oldest.
Yeah, so people would also be like, now that you're kind of taking Jeremiah's shoes, basically filling them in as the head of the house in a way. People would be like coming up and shaking your hand, and your hand would come away with a bit of money in it, and they just smile at you and nod, like you took care of your family now, and they kind of pat you on the shoulder, and they won't take it back no matter how hard you offer.
Yeah, and this like confuses him at first. He's never had this happen before, but each person does it. Like the second or third time it happens, he's like cluing in. He's like, something ain't going right around here. Something ain't right. You know?
Like in total, you'd probably end up by the end of the day with maybe like maybe 10 gold and like a handful, maybe like 40 or 50 silver. So like a total, like however many dollars we decided that was.
Yeah.
Like people are just basically pitching in what they can to help you out. Because you have to buy new livestock too. They burned with the barn.
Thanks.
He just nods.
Thanks, Hiram.
Yeah, so they'd give you some money. They'd help you like get the barn set up. They'd start clearing out all the burned crops from the field and tilling the soil for you. Just doing what they can to help. And it's a long, hard day of work. But by the time the sun goes down, the field's been cleaned out. The barn is on it's making a lot of progress. And yeah, you got that money and some other food and stuff to hold you guys over.
Yeah, he instantly puts this money into the lockbox of the family. He's not going to pocket it. It's definitely going towards the family funds.
Yeah,
he ain't one of those weaselly types.
Yeah, and Marcellus would approach at the end of the day as everyone's kind of leaving, and you put a hand on your shoulder. You say, Wesley, I mean, it's hard, I know, and dude, we just want to make sure that you know that we're looking out for you. And he'd hand you like a rolled up piece of parchment, kind of patch on the shoulder and walk away. And it's a writ that'll let you purchase when you're done. Like it's a writ of requisition, basically, 4 cows and 6 chickens. So just like enough to basically, like that wasn't as many livestock as you had, but it's a start.
Thank you kindly, sir.
And he kind of just looks back and smiles and nods.
Burke will
You let us
never
know if we can do
forget
anything
this.
else.
Oh, we got plenty enough as it is, but thank you for your offer. You have
Okay.
a mighty good day now.
Okay, and he's walking away. At this point, Matoskah showed up. Let's go ahead and slide back up to the house. The sun's getting low in the sky, Hiram. Lester's kind of trying to do his twist shot. Let's see how well he's learned. He does it fairly well. Not as good as it could be, but he manages to pull the gun fluidly, take a shot, and hit fairly close to the center. But he's still kind of slow.
Yeah, Hiram nods and he goes, keep working on it, Lester. It takes a little while to get the flow. You've got it down. The holster's in the right spot. Just keep practicing the draw and you'll get it. There's really nothing else to improve upon at this point.
When am I going to be good enough to duel, though, Hiram?
Well, with any luck, you won't have to duel all that much, but if I had to venture a guess, probably in a few months. Maybe 2. Depends on how hard you work.
He just nods. Those water traders, if I was good enough, I'd challenge them right now. You did.
Well,
you showed that Dennis who's boss.
Dennis was a sticky subject. He wasn't going away. Let Marcellus deal with this batch. If they don't go away, then chances are I'll probably step in again.
I want to be like you, though. You don't run away. You step up to challenges. You deal with them.
Is that what you think?
That's what I know. You've got the most wins in the town out of anyone, sanctioned and unsanctioned. And you're kind of surprised that he knows about the unsanctioned duels.
Yeah, I think I was more taken back at first when he was like, you took care of Dennis. And I was like, wait a minute. Why does this kid know about that one? Because that was an unsanctioned duel. Yeah. And like, as he says, the unsanctioned stuff, never mind all that. The thing is, Lester, you got an opportunity that I wasn't born with. Your family could make sure that you don't have to go out and duel, whether it's sanctioned or unsanctioned, to meet your bills. Do me a favor and stick to the sanctioned duels, at least for a little while. I wouldn't want to see your pa lose one of his boys, especially one with a good shot like that. And he kind of points down range at the target that he got the natural 20 on earlier. You get your draw right, and one day you could shoot me out just like that can.
And he kind of just like smiles at this praise. It means a lot to him. And he kind of just he like looks up at you, and you just see like adoring admiration in this kid's eyes. Like he looks up to you. And he kind of just smiles. Well, I mean, I'm happy you're the one teaching me, though.
And I'm real glad that that the Botans took me in and gave me this opportunity. Been a pleasure to work with you, Lester. I don't take on very many students, but glad I decided to.
Dad and Dennis really like you, by the way, though. I hear talk of them officially hiring you.
Well, I don't know anything about that, but I do have to change. Your mother and father have invited me to dinner.
Okay. Yeah. And thanks. And I mean, how old would you say Lester is? Like maybe like 15, 16?
Yeah, probably. I mean, he's shooting with proficiency, so he's probably about 15.
Yeah. So I mean, he kind of just like looks up at you, smiles again, and starts making his way towards the house. As you kind of start to make your way out, leaving, you've been here for maybe, how long would you say each lesson is?
Probably about like an hour and a half. There's like 30 minutes where he's not actually teaching. He's just doing observation, letting the kid run through drills and stuff like that. And then there's like a good hour of like hands-on education type stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So you it's like the sun's dipping in the sky, you know, dinner's going to be ready, soon. And you head out. They open the gate. Samuel, is still there. He kind of just smiles at you as you kind of walk out and slaps you on the shoulder. Any duels coming up?
Not at the moment. I'm sure when it comes up, though, it'll make the news.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to attend your next one. The last one was something. What was his name again? Hey. He keeps coming back. Hayborn? Hey something?
Oh, sorry, I'm looking for the name now. Heyman, I think was
Heyman.
What the name was. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Wait, was it Hiram or wait, who's Wise Tangle?
Wise Tangle was part of the Dennis Wise Tangle was the water baron that was from
the water baron. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I don't know if Samuel would be involved in the illegal duels because my idea is he's just an innocent kid.
Yeah, like you said, he's kind of blind to all the back alley stuff, basically. Yeah, he's like, hey man, what does that make your duels at? Are you up one or are you tied?
I don't know if that one really counts. It wasn't really a sanctioned match, so I think my record stands the same.
Well, he keeps showing up. You guys keep shooting. It's always entertaining to see you guys go at it. Seems like a rivalry you guys got going.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I have to change. I'll be back a little bit later.
Yeah, of course. He just nods to you. Take care of yourself, Hiram. See you around. And he would just kind of go back to his patrols, basically.
Yeah, Hiram will go change. His fancy dinner dress is pretty much kind of similar to what he normally wears, but it's like pinstriping instead of just plain black trousers and like a black vest and a black jacket. Like it's a pinstriped vest, a pinstriped trousers that are a little bit kept up with. He cleans up his boots, and he switches to kind of like a nicer hat that he's kept in a box inside his trunk.
Yeah, so you
That's how he's
spiffy
gonna come
up.
back. Yep.
Okay. Maybe these are like your
It's not
basically
even
your
they're fancier. It's just clothes that he's kept clean and in a box so
yeah,
that he could
like
attend
your
dinners.
business clothes basically, yeah. The duster you don't wear out unless
Yeah.
it's for a nice occasion and stuff, yeah. Yeah, so you quote unquote dress up and head back up the hill. And as you're kind of rounding the bend, you see that at the gate, people are yelling and running back and forth. Some sort of a commotion.
He kind of looks a little weary as he kind of approaches his scene, and he'll move his jacket back to expose his heavy pistol, just in case it becomes necessary. And he starts going towards the gates to investigate.
Yeah, you see people shouting back and forth at each other. They're securing the gate, and like the people on the top of the wall are like in high alert. You see, there's nobody standing outside the gate now. They're just up above it. And as you approach, several rifles are aimed at you because you're kind of like in the darkness now, like the sun's kind of setting.
Mm-hmm. Whoa, now, boys, it's getting pretty dark. Don't point those things around. I'm Hiram, and you are, and he's kind of like squinting through the darkness.
You see one of them immediately lower his rifle, and you hear Samuel's voice. Hiram? Oh yeah, you said you were coming back. Open up the gate. Yeah, it's Hiram. It's Hiram, guys. You hear the doors kind of like the gates, like you see them open, and there are several guards that get the gate too, and they're kind of like they have like those lever action rifles, quick ones that you can shoot real fast, kind of like aiming down the road. Like, come in, hurry.
Yeah, Hiram hurries in, and then once the gate's all secured, he kind of shouts up to Samuel, who's still at the top of the palisade. You got wolves or something?
And you see he looks like super troubled, and his face is like drawn in like a constant like frown. I don't know if I'm the one that should tell you, Hiram. Go into the house. Dennis should be waiting up there, or somebody. I don't know.
All right. Well, I know I normally
your
don't
passive
load up
perception?
unless I'm on my perception or passive.
Your passive perception. Oh, you got 14?
14.
Yeah, you hear some words being thrown around. Assassins, Randall, dead, and mixed in there vulgar words. Just angry words.
Okay. He kind of shouts up to Simon. He goes, Simon, I know normally I don't carry rounds unless I'm on the range, but I'm going to make an exception. And like, he's not asking for permission. Normally on the boat and ranch, unless you're on the range, you don't put rounds in your gun.
Yeah, Samuel knows you work for the family. He just kind of nods to you.
And he'll open up his heavy pistol and load it up and then move to the house.
Yeah, you'd reach the main front door, the double doors at the front of the house. They'd be open already. It kind of leads into like this entry hall. Off to the left is like a salon with like couches and nice chairs and stuff. You can see through the window that most of the family's in there. You can hear footsteps upstairs, people running around, doors opening, closets being checked, et cetera, et cetera. And as you step in, Dennis kind of looks up at you, and he's just got like this like deep frown on his face, and he stands up and walks across the salon and steps up to you and kind of puts a hand on your shoulder. Sorry, I think dinner's going to have to wait tonight, Hiram. You see that Mrs. Bowden's been crying.
You just tell me what you need, Mr. Bowden. And he'll suddenly realize he stepped inside the house, and he'll take off his hat. And kind of like he goes to put it somewhere, but he stepped past the hat rack or the coat rack. So he's just kind of standing there in the hallway, duster still on, hat in hand, trying to assess the situation. I'd like to do an investigate. I'm not sure how much I can really gather from just the salon room where people are posted up, but I think it's within my character's kind of ideas here.
Yeah, that's fine.
So like a 16 would be my investigate.
So what are you looking for? Just like the state of things, or like clues as to what might have happened, or what?
I think his more concern at the moment is like feeling out the people in the room, not necessarily like the room, like feeling out like where they're at emotionally, try and like pull some information, a little small talk. He's going to kind of realize his jacket and coat after a few moments and hang them up.
Mm-hmm.
And once he's hung them up, he's rolling up his sleeves, and he I'd like to use investigation kind of actively, like he's asking questions. So he says, Mr. Bowden, I heard a little bit, but what happened?
I've been out since our conversation earlier today, dealing with business at the quarry. Marcellus hasn't been in the house either. He was helping at the Burke farm, building the new barn and helping with the old burned out crops. The only ones who were here were Lester, Liza, Marianne, and Mother. And last one who saw him alive out of us here was Liza. But that man, you know him, Captain Carson, over at Smokeholm, that old fort, peacekeeper. He was here before. He's been trying to buy out the Oasis too, but he doesn't seem like him to do something like this.
No. There are dirty peacekeepers, but fortunate for us, there hasn't been too many that have been on the vigilante side of that dirty. I don't think it was him either. And now, Mr. Bowden, I'm sorry to say this, but can I see your father?
Dennis looks back at his mother, who kind of just looks up, red tear-stained eyes. Her makeup's kind of spread down her face from her crying. She would kind of just like nod and like look back down at her hands and keep wringing. You see she's holding a handkerchief in her hands that has like a couple of blood stains on it. You know that Mr. Randall's health has been under the weather. He's been pretty sick lately, with like a Spanish flu type thing. And so she is kind of like holding this handkerchief with his blood on it and like crying and just wringing it in her hands. And Dennis would kind of just nod. I'll take you up. So you kind of go up this elaborate staircase that kind of goes up to the second floor. Yeah, consumption. That's what it is. Take you up to the second floor, and kind of he turns right, heading towards the master bedroom, basically. Stopping in front of the doors. All the doors on the floor are open. You can see all the closets are open. Everything's open. All the windows, everything. They're like the house guard basically are kind of like going through the house, making sure that whoever the assassin is still in here. You hear tromping on the loft up above you in the attic. And he would walk into the room with you, and you'd see Randall lying there among all of his sheets. His eyes closed. His hand kind of slumped to the side. He's kind of slumped like up, probably against the pillows, like he was getting up. This is from your 15 investigation as well. Like he was getting up and somebody hit him, and there's like a blunt hit, like on the center of his forehead, kind of on the side and the temple where you not like. It looks like somebody just hit him really hard right there. And he's old and frail. He's been sick, and his health hasn't been the best to begin with. It wouldn't take much to really do him in, and so. But somebody's killed him.
Yeah, I think there's a few moments where Hiram is going through the room, kind of looking at different things. And it's that like cheesy CIS type thing where like he gets close to something and then like he zoom focuses on like the bruise on the side of his head. And then he takes out like what would be the best thing? Probably like a bullet, because he's looking for something to be able to lift up pieces and things like that. one of the rounds. He's using it to not like mark his own hands against stuff. He's probably not been super clear with the Botans about his past before he arrived here, but the Botans have probably seen him do investigation work before. But it's like criminal investigation. It's not like going around looking for just little standout clues. He's doing like forensics.
Yeah, roll me another investigation check.
Okay, cool. That is a 21.
Yeah, as you're kind of like digging around and like looking for stuff, you'd find like dirt on the carpet right next to his bed. You find an owl feather kind of resting on the desk. Well, no, like you find one beneath the bed and one by the open window. You'd see as you're kind of like looking at like the desk that there's like an obvious spot where some documents were sitting or some papers, because everything around it is kind of like all neat and orderly. And then there's just this area with stuff missing. You'd see what else? Yeah, that's what I'd say. Those are the things that stand out to you.
Mr. Bowden, do you know what your father was working on? Any sort of business plans lately? And he's standing over the desk as he's asking these questions.
Yeah, as you kind of so like you turn to Dennis, and Dennis like turns and looks back at you. I mean, there are several things. Dad was drafting up some papers to pass on the Oasis to Marcellus. I think he knew the time was approaching for him to pass on the business. A couple of transaction deals with Mr. Pickering. I believe Mr. Pickering was buying out one of the spots of land out on the farm. I don't know why, but he was purchasing some land out there. A couple of trade agreements with the So. I don't know. I just maybe another formal refusal to sell to the out.
So, speaking of the So, if I remember correctly, they use body paints, correct?
Yeah, they do. Why?
Do they ever have like other iconography? Like, do they wear like feathers and stuff like that, or anything, or is that more like some of the other tribes?
I know that some of them do. They're more about the stars. They care more about star metal. That's a beautiful thing. Silvery in appearance, shiny, very shiny, easily polished. They don't really wear owl feathers. Owls, they kind of like racks his head for a second, like thinking, I don't think anyone wears owl feathers. They're a symbol of death, terrible omen. Mostly eagle, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, and I don't mean to question your associates, but that's why I was wondering about the So. So have been known to bring death with them. If anybody brings that sort of feather work, I would assume it'd be them. Yeah, there's 2 feathers I found that doesn't make sense. They're owl feathers. And he'll pick up one of them. Mr. Bowden, your father has been very kind to me and given me a lot of opportunities in this town. I know that the right thing is that we're going to get the sheriff involved, but if I find out anything, I'll bring it to you first.
He just nods. Of course. Why would somebody want to do this to Dad? I mean, I get that he deals a lot in the town, but he's good to these people.
Well, the deals that you talked about, it doesn't seem like any of them would cause anybody to come in here and try and kill him, but there is paperwork that's missing. Your father's a very organized man. Look at this desk. And he kind of points over at like these organized sheets of paper. Like he's got 3 pens that are evenly spaced out. And then there's like this one spot on the desk that's just vacant. There was something that was right here. And now there's not. if we could find out what's missing, that might be more helpful. I'm not sure if Marcellus or yourself would be the better one to answer that question. Marcellus being the older brother, I'm sure he was aware of some deals that you might not be aware of. Now, no disrespect, Mr. Bowden, but that's kind of the way of these things.
No, I know. I know that Dad was teaching Marcellus the business. He was teaching him about how to run the town, about all the things that he needed to do when he passed on. I know that they were private lessons, not for me. Marcellus was going to teach me after Dad passed, so somebody would just know. But
now there was one thing that you mentioned that was interesting. You said that your father was selling some land out in the farmstead to Pickering. Do you know what section of land that was?
The furthest section of land, the northwestern corner. Big plot used to be owned by the Johnsons. They moved though. Land hasn't been used in a while. He purchased it from Dad. I don't know why.
Now, was it Mr. Pickering directly, or was it the bank? Because that may make a difference.
I don't rightly know. He just said that the land was being purchased up by Pickering. That could mean the bank or Pickering.
Okay, well, I'll see what I can find out. I usually have my ways to get information like this. If I come across anything, I'll let you know. But you gotta get your guards to calm down here. I know that they're searching for clues and whatnot, but the sheriff's gonna have to look over this room as well.
Yeah, of course. I'll call them to. They were just checking to make sure that everything was okay, that nothing else was happening. I'll tell them to file out downstairs. Yeah. At about this point, Hiram, you notice something strange out of the corner of your eye. A deep orange glow coming from the window. Something in the distance.
Do you have anybody out with torches right now?
No.
Lanterns, anything like that?
Maybe some of them went out to search the hills.
He points over to draw Dennis's attention. Send out some men to investigate that. That doesn't look like one of your guards.
He frowns and he kind of starts walking towards the window. And you'd see his eyes visibly widen. And as you approach and you're able to get the full view, because it's kind of like covered a bit by the side of the mountain, you'd see out in the farmlands a raging inferno.
Now, I don't know that those are connected, but it is odd circumstance.
And he would run outside and start shouting orders to the guards, the ones that they can spare at least. They would run downstairs. He would kind of look and just shake his head. We got to put those fires out. And he'd yell to Marcellus. Marcellus would run out with the guards. They'd all kind of like run to the wagons and the horses and start pelting it as fast as they could down to the oasis, filling up big buckets of water and running it out to the edge of town. Do you follow?
No, I think Hiram's actually going to stay here. There's been a crisis. They're sending out their personal guards to try and deal with the fire. If it is an assassination attempt, because there's nothing to tell me otherwise, somebody should be around. So, Hiram's going to stay around. And
sorry, go ahead.
And he's going to go into Old Pa Bowden's office, which I like to imagine him as like a big hunting connoisseur. Like he's probably traveled all over Providence, hunted a bunch of animals. There's like stag heads on the wall and stuff like that. But he happens to have a cabinet full of rifles and sidearms and things like that. And he's going to gather up a few of them and start passing them out to the remaining Bowdens that are left in the household. I don't know who. I don't know who all's around here, if anybody's left, but with them going out and take care of that fire, We need to be prepared for anything. And like the camera will show him handing Lester a heavy revolver. This is probably the first time Lester's ever had a heavy revolver. It's actually very similar in style. It's a Peacemaker, just like Hiram's is, but it's kind of more of like the classic as they come from the factory kind of Peacemaker. So it's the old Ironsides kind of gun.
Yeah. So about like maybe 20 of the house, we'll say 10 of them stay behind. The rest run out to deal with the fire. You kind of hand out weapons to the remaining Boutons. Marcellus is going to oversee the fire, like dealing with the fire. And so we're going to shift back out to the farm real quick. You guys are standing there after a job well done, a long day of work, when you see an orange glow at your back. And as you turn around, you'd see at the far corner of like the farmland, it's just a huge wall of fire moving towards you.
I would be saying something along the lines of, not again, like, what is going on, and pointing it out to everybody.
At about this point, because you know that on that far corner, that's actually Jeb's property. Butch comes running up, like stumbling, breathing heavily. Deputy, please come quick.
What's wrong, boy?
The so. They're attacking the farm.
With that, I would start following them.
Yeah, he just starts running back with you in tow. Matoskah and Wesley, what are you two doing?
I think this ruckus would cause Wes to. It's like dark out, right?
Yeah, it's dark out.
Middle of the night. So this would probably stir Wes from his very heavy sleep that he was in, as he was leaning against a barrel or some, a wheelbarrow or something after the long drudgery. This ruckus wakes him up and he stirs. He snaps awake. "What in tarnation?" he exclaims. And he sees the wall of fire, and maybe the smoke too, the glowing orange in the distance. He looks around. He sees Mr. Sheriff, sir. What's going on?
I would yell out as I'm like running. There's a fire. It's the so. They're attacking us.
Well, I'm gonna get their back. They got ours, and he's gonna run after you guys.
I would probably expecting when the so raid they normally do in big numbers, right?
So
That's
yeah,
what
they probably come in a war band of about 20.
I would yell for Matoskah and any willing people to come.
Yep.
Anyone
People
with
start
arms.
picking up rifles and shotguns and just running after you, basically. Yeah. And you guys make your way out to the edge of the farm. You see this wall of flame just slowly descending upon the rest of the farmland. You know if you don't stop it, the fire, it's going to burn out the crops, and this town is going to starve. So, but also as you get closer, you hear the screams and the yells, the war shouts. And as you kind of come up around the bend, kind of cresting the top of the hill and seeing Jeb's farm, you see Jeb kind of like shoving his two sons like away from the fire. They've been like tossing water at it. And he starts to run too. And as he kind of starts running, you see kind of coming up behind him, loping towards him, a so lifting a hatchet, a tomahawk over his head. Let's call it, he's got a war spear. You have a chance to react, one of you.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to shoot.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Let's do that. 17.
That'll definitely hit. Go ahead and give me damage.
9.
Okay, yeah, your shot hits him square. He stumbles, almost falling, holds himself up with a spear, and he's going to get an attack in still. And that's definitely going to hit. And he's two-handing the spear. And that's a 7 on the die, plus 2, 9 points. He spears Jeb through the back, pinning him to the earth, and like twisting the spear and pulling it out. And he looks at you, and he's just got this like feral snarl on his face. And he kind of just raises the spear over his head and shouts something. And out of the field, about a dozen other figures emerge. We're going to go ahead and roll initiative now. Is Chris Willhelm here too? He is not, it seems. I need him to roll initiative though also.
Yeah, I am, but I'm trying to deal with a fire alarm that has started to alert and hopefully not wake up the baby.
Okay, yeah, cool. Go ahead. I'm going to hurry and type this over in the chat. So at the top of the order, don't put anything in chat for a second. So we've got top of the order, we've got Lance, followed by Wesley, followed by Black Crow, followed by Long Spear, followed by Matoskah. Oh no, wait. Not followed by Matoskah, followed by, oh my gosh, what's his character's name? Hiram, followed by Matoskah, not Hirma, followed by Matoskah, followed by Band 1, followed by Band 2. Okay. Lance.
Oh, geez.
You're up. You're up, son.
Black Crow or Long Spear is the guy that I shot with.
The guy you shot was just somebody out of the bands, just like a normal person.
All right. Who's closest to me?
Closest to you is just the one dude who just stabbed Jeb.
All right, then I will take a shot at him again.
Okay, go ahead.
Pachow, 21 to hit and total of 9 damage again.
That is definitely a kill. How do you drop him?
So I imagine as he sees me, he starts making war cries at me, angrily thrusting his spear into the air, and he starts to ride off with speed towards me. Smoke still kind of rising from the barrel. I line it up again, and as he gets close, I just shoot and knock him off his horse, and he kind of falls to the ground in front of me. I see there's a bullet hole square in his head.
Yeah, so he just drops, like almost like he's like knocked off his feet by the force of this shot, and falls still. Wesley.
I see Jeb impaled. I'm gonna run up to him and try to like clutch at his head and stymie the bleeding of his wound.
Yeah, the spear thrust has gone clean through, pinned him to the ground for a second before it was pulled out. His blood is just leaking into the ground. You see it just pooling around him, slowly making its way downhill and dripping into one of the water trenches. And he just kind of like looks up to you, his eyes like slowly going blank, his face going cold.
Jeb, sir, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. You can go to someplace better.
Better. You always were a terrible liar, Wes.
I mean, it ain't true, Mr. Jeb. You're gonna go someplace great. There's gonna be smell of roses and daisies. You'll be good, Mr. Jeb.
And that's when you realize he isn't listening anymore. He's dead.
And Wes, a little tear, whatever he can muster, despite having sweated so much the prior day, single tear. His eyes wet and dampened from this heart moment. Jeb was always very close to Wes. As he clutches him in his arms, he's kneeling on the ground.
So your turn's going to be just to clutch Jeb on the ground then? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so you just hold him close. Black Crow, having seen you kill one of his men, he's going to draw a short bow from his back lance and make 2 attacks against you. Does a 16 hit you?
It would normally, but I'd like to use my combat instincts to reduce his attack by 4.
Okay. Yeah, his bow shot is coming right at you, but you're able to dodge out of the way. The arrowhead embedding in the ground, and his second shot going wide too. He kind of just like grunts and disappears back into the burning plants, just almost all but disappearing from sight as he hides with the bonus action. Long Spear is going to. He comes running around the other side of the house. You hear the footsteps moving towards you, and he's going to get into close combat with you guys, making 2 attacks at Matoskah.
He's attacking me?
Yeah. That's an 18 and a 17.
Those both hit.
Okay. And he's using 2-handed attacks, so both D8s. That's going to be a total of 13 points of damage. As he jabs one of the spears into your thigh and then pulls it out and jabs you in the chest with it.
I'm hurting.
Okay, and he kind of like steps back and like readies his spear towards you. It would be Hiram's turn, but nothing's happening over there anyways. Matoskah.
I rage and I hit him right back.
Okay.
That's a 20, not natural. Actually, it's a 22, not natural.
That hits, definitely.
And a natural 1.
You now won your second attack?
Yeah.
Okay, so your first one hits, so tell me how that happens. What happens? How much damage?
$11 damage.
Yeah, Long Spear grunts. This hit definitely hurts, and he kind of like staggers away from you under the force of it. And as you bring your axe around the second time, roll me a d4.
Wait, I'm just remembering. I don't have 2 attacks. I don't know
That's
why
what
I rolled
thought.
twice.
I'm like, you're level 2.
I
Like,
know. I don't know.
like
He hit me twice, and then I'm just so used to playing, I guess, at higher levels, then I rolled twice, but I can't roll twice. I don't know why I thought that.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're dealing with a pretty grievous wound. Okay, the other band, so the first band of soldiers is going to move forward, drawing bows and pointing spears. They're not going to be able to get to you, but the bowmen are going to take shots. We'll have one going for Wesley and one going for Lance. Wes, does a 14 hit you? Yeah? And then Lance, 13 misses you, right?
Indeed.
Okay, so 1 hit, and that's only a d6 because it's a short bow. It landed sideways. 5 points, Wesley, as an arrow embeds in your thigh. So they're moving forward. Back at the house, nothing happens. Band 2 is also going to start moving forward. They've only got 2 bow shots. So one at, well, they'll both just shoot at Jeb's boys, who are like running up to you guys with shotguns. And they're going to take down one of Jeb's boys because they both hit. So one of Jeb's boys just takes an arrow in the side and an arrow in the back and just falls to the ground. Unmoving. The youngest keeps running towards you, just screaming. At this point, Marcellus and the house guard are going to show up and join the fray. Marcellus is going to draw a revolver and take a shot and hit, taking out one of the war band. It's a heavy revolver, and it's probably going to do a lot of damage. Yes, it does. 15 points. And the rest of the house guard are going to move in. They've got like rifles and shotguns, and they're going to attack as well. Okay, top of the order, Lance.
All right. If I could, I'd like to move over to one of Jeb's boys and pick up the shotgun that he had.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking that will do a little bit better damage. And then I will hold my action and wait for someone to approach me. And then when they get close, try to shotgun them. But I will also yell out, I'm not sure if I have enough. Did I use my bonus action yet, picking up the shotgun?
No, that's just movement.
Okay. I'll yell out to Matoskah to watch your back and Bardic Inspiration.
Okay, cool. Wesley.
Thanks, man.
So I just got a arrow to the thigh as my kind of surrogate father just got murdered by one of these people. So Wes is going to be a bit angry. And he wheels around, and he was empty-handed before, but in his hands are that black silver filigree gun as he just bang shoots it with one of the nearest of these war people. And that's going to be a 25 to hit.
Oh, yeah, that's going to hit.
All right. That's going to be 17 damage.
That is definitely going to kill one. Are you going for one of the just the normal warband people, or one of the two like leaders?
Whichever one's the closest. Literally the closest one to me. So
probably Longspear, who just stabbed your friend right behind you.
Yeah.
Okay, well that would kill Longspear. 17 points would definitely kill Longspear. Okay, so Longspear goes down. Just a bullet tearing through him as he falls to the ground, ready to strike at Matoskah again. Oh, dang it, I forgot to remove the other one. Okay, Black Crow is going to stand with his hunting longbow and take aim at... We'll go with Wesley again, who just shot his fellow leader. He's going to take 2 longbow shots at you.
You're looking to beat a 13.
Okay, so I got a 14 and an 8, so the first one hits.
Yep.
And is going to deal 6 points of damage to you. Yeah, just another arrow just comes out of the field and just hits you right in the shoulder, sinking itself deep into the muscle and sinew. Next up then is Hiram. Hiram, roll me a perception check.
That comes out to a 20.
You hear the telltale creak of a floorboard on the floor above you.
Like I'm able to identify where the creak came from?
Yep, it would have been like the writing room, like the study of Randall.
Okay. I am going to use stealth and move towards that direction. I want to get a jump on whoever it is.
Hey, roll me a stealth check.
Yeah, that is 17.
Okay. 17. Perfect. Yeah, so you start moving off, and Dennis kind of grabs your arm, like, where are you going?
And it's like the pointing towards where the noise was.
He like frowns, like they checked the entire floor upstairs. What are you talking about?
And he just continues going.
Okay. Yeah, you make your way quietly up the stairs. slowly. You're gonna make it to the second floor, moving stealthily, and you can see the study door open and a shadow moving inside. You're gonna get there next turn, though.
Okay.
Okay, Matoskah. This dude is raising his spear to stab you again, and he takes a bullet right to the side of the head, just dropping. Muted.
Would I find it unusual that the So are attacking another person who's clearly like one of the tribe's members, or is that
No,
pretty
no,
usual?
they attack other tribes for sacrifices all the time.
Okay. Well, I'm still
Like-
raging and I'm pissed off, so I am going to run over to a black crow and try to
So
wreck.
you're gonna have to search for him because he's hiding in the cornfield. He's stealthed.
Oh, he didn't reveal himself when he shot.
Like he stood up, shot, and then slipped back into the cornfield using a hide as a bonus action.
Well, Matoskah's raging, so I don't think you would bother. I think you would go for the first guy you can see and run over to him and just swing.
Yeah, that's fine. You can just approach the engaging warriors who are about to arrive at you guys.
Yeah, if they're running towards us, I run straight up to them and just throw myself into the fray.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
19 on the die plus 7.
That's definitely gonna hit.
1d8 plus 5. Oh, that's around there. 2 plus 5 is 7.
7 points of damage. Okay. Yeah, you chop one of these guys who's running towards you. As you guys get into close combat range, he's got a war club in his hand, and you just cleave deep into like his like shoulder, like deep into his sternum, and he kind of just like screams in pain, yelling profanities at you. And is there anything else?
That's it. I only have 1 attack.
Okay. So he's part of the band of 3. He's still barely alive. He's going to make an attack on you.
Yeah, bring it. You're looking for
And he's gonna
17.
miss. He got a 8. And he misses. But his 2 brothers are gonna stand up. His 2 warband brothers are gonna stand up and take shots at you with their short bows.
Didn't I close the distance with them in melee?
Yeah, there are 2 in the field, because this is a group of 3.
Oh, so 2 of them. Okay. Yeah.
So one attacks you in close combat who you hit, and he missed, and then his 2 brothers are gonna
the other
stand up
2
in the
are gonna
field and
shoot.
shoot at you. Yeah.
Got it. I thought they were in a group.
Yeah. So that's gonna be a 20 and a 23. So both will hit, right?
Yep. Those both hit.
Okay. And you're going to take 14 total, so half that, so 7.
What is this? What does the first one do?
The first one does 8 points. So 4.
I had 4. So I shoot, and as my dead body is falling, the second arrow hits me, and I go down with a failed death save.
Can I combat instinct that? I don't know if
It
it's
only
true.
works for you.
Oh, okay.
Or, well, I don't know. I don't know if I specified that it only works for you.
Your wording is that you may use your reaction to give -X to an attack of an enemy you can see equal to your...
Oh, yeah, sure. You could lower one of the attack rolls.
Actually, yeah, I guess they're both going to hit him, so that probably doesn't matter anyways, right?
Well, one does 4. Well, they're both really high rolls, so I don't know if you could dropping it by 4 would actually make it so it missed.
Yeah, so I'll just... Sorry, Matoskah.
It's fine.
Okay.
So it happens when you rage, man.
Yeah, so 2 arrows find you and drop you to the ground.
Could my ready
Back-
action go off or no?
Oh, yeah, because he closed the distance. You could shotgun this dude who tried to attack him with the axe.
All right, I'll at least do that. Just give him not a dex or a death save for a 17 to hit.
Oh, yeah, this dude's blown away. He's dead. He had like 3 hit points left.
All right, so at least no fail for you.
Well, that was the guy who missed me.
Huh,
Yeah, that was the dude who missed.
sucks then.
Okay, so he goes down. Back at the house, you hear shuffling papers again and somebody moving around in the room. He's not aware of whoever it is not aware of your presence, though, Hiram. So they are not going to do anything to combat you.
Excellent. I will move in and see if I can identify who it is before leaping like a panther on them.
Okay. Well, I mean, that'll be next turn, but that was the assassin's turn. It's just them going through the papers.
Okay.
Okay. Back to the war bands. The other two are closing the distance. They're rushing towards you, Lance. They're both going to get an attack on you. And that's literally a 6 and a 10, so both miss. And then 2 arrows are going to come flying out towards Marcellus and the house guard. And hit. So a house guard goes down, and Marcellus takes an arrow. Okay, Lance, top of the order.
All right. So how many are now? There's just the 2 left on Matoskah's fallen body.
There are 4 standing out in the field and 2 rushing towards you, and then there's Black Crow who's out in the field somewhere too.
All right. Then I will Bardic Inspire Wesley and ask him to. I'll shout out to give me a hand over here. We can't let them rush us. And now that I've shot the shotgun and essentially realized that it's pretty much the same as my revolver, I think I'm just going to drop it because I imagine it only has a couple of rounds in it, and shoot my revolver again.
Okay.
And that is a tasty miss.
Okay. Also, on this turn, I'm going to start a timer. So I'm rolling a d4. In 3 rounds, if the fire is not dealt with, it is going to be out of control.
Perfect.
Okay. Wesley, your turn.
You said the more of these are coming after us, just running towards us. So Wes just raises his revolver again, shooting at the nearest one, with basically a cold, dead look. This will be a 19 to hit.
That'll hit.
For 15 points of piercing damage.
That'll drop another one.
Is there another one within range?
There's one like maybe 10 feet away from him.
Nice. Yeah, I'll action surge. Pick off another one. Just blam, blam. These 2 shots. One after a row. That's going to be inspiration here. There we go. 18 to hit.
Okay, hits.
And that'll be... Oh, max damage. 19 points.
Okay, he definitely goes down. And guys, keep track of your shots too, so you know when you have to reload. Okay. All right. Anything else? No? Okay. Black Crow is going to stand up, picking you out as the most important target, Wesley, as you're tearing through his troops, through his brothers. And he's going to take 2 shots at you. And that one of them is a nat 20. The other one misses, though. Okay, so that's going to be...
Here's an interesting thing, Ty. Sorry to kind of do this to you, but if I use my combat instinct on that, would that un-nat 20, or is a nat 20 just always a nat 20?
No, it doesn't remove a nat 20. Nat 20s are just instant hits for me.
Okay, interesting.
Okay.
All right, let's see the damage.
So that is going to be 18 points. And he might actually spend some stuff. He's going to spend 9 points to get you in the... Yeah, he's going to spend 9 points to get you in the arm. Any attacks you make with your right arm are going to be at disadvantage. What's your prominent arm?
Yeah, let's go right hand.
Okay, yeah. So any attacks you make with your right,
hand
are going to be made at disadvantage.
So I take 9 less from this?
Yeah, so you're going to take 9 points instead of 18, and then have disadvantage on attacks. Cool. Until the end of the combat, basically, until you get the arrow removed. Okay, Hiram.
All right, so I'm going to creep closer to see if I can get a good look at this guy before I launch my attack.
Yeah, you move forward, kind of like approaching the doorway. You can peek through. You see a man dressed head to toe in kind of like just black, like blackened like buckskin clothing. Like you can tell that like tar's been rubbed into it and like ash and soot, so it's just darkened. Um, he's got kind of like a bandana tied around his face and like a not necessarily like a hood, but like a kind of a cowl almost over the top of his head.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of like digging through like this desk, like going through documents.
Yep, that seems like an assassin type person. I will go ahead and do a sneak attack.
Okay.
So the cool thing about being a rogue who happens to take twist draw, before combat initiative is rolled, if you are not surprised, you get a single weapon attack. Does this count as initiative, or will I get that bonus? Because he and I are technically just moving in turns with everybody.
I'll
We
let you
haven't
use it
actually
as a
engaged in
bonus
combat.
action. Like use that ability as a bonus action. Since technically we're in turns, but nobody has made
Mhm.
combat yet in the house.
Okay. As a bonus.
So you can take 2 attacks basically if you want to this turn.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Sure. Yeah. Okay. I'll do that.
So your first attack will be sneak attack, and then the second one only applies once per round, so the second one won't be. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the first one is effectively the twist draw because it makes sense that goes first, which will have the sneak attack damage. That is a 24 to hit.
Which definitely hits.
Cool. And that is 11 piercing plus the sneak attack and twist draw for 6, so 17 piercing damage.
Okay, 17 piercing.
And then his hand, or his left hand, reaches over and fans the hammer for the second shot. That is, just double check that, a 20 to hit.
Yeah, that hits.
And 6 more points of piercing damage.
Yeah, so these 2 shots just bam, bam, like one just rips through this guy, and you hear him grunt in pain as the other shot comes flying free too, tearing into him. He kind of staggers, blood splattering the wall. He slips on the edge of the desk, papers flying everywhere, and stumbles across the desk to the wall, putting his hand on it for support. And he turns and looks at you. You see kind of deep green eyes, a man's face hidden behind this cowl and bandana. And his eyes narrow at you, and weirdly enough, the eyes roll me perception, or no, just roll me flat intelligence.
Okay. That comes out to a 14.
The eyes are recognizable to you. You don't know who they belong to, but you know you've seen them before. Eyes that deep green, you would know them. And so he's going to turn on you. Matoskah, death save.
I fail it.
Okay, so 1 success, 2 fails.
So yeah, I had made a mistake in my hit points. I forgot to do the long rest, and so I started at 17 instead of 25 at the beginning of the combat. So I still would have gone down, but I wouldn't have had that first death save. So
yeah, okay, so
I'm
one,
just
one,
at one.
then.
Well, I don't have a success. I just have a fail.
Oh, okay, so 1 failure then.
This is my first
fine.
roll, so I have a fail.
Okay, cool. Okay, just 1 fail. That's fine. So going back to the fields then, at a shout from Black Crow, you see the 2 bands of like disappear into the field, moving away, taking shots as they run. So I'm going to just do all the band attacks real quickly, and then we'll go to the assassin. So 1 hit, 1 miss, 1 hit. Arrows just flying over their shoulders. Oh, Black Crow gets 2 attacks. Oh, wait, it's not his turn yet. Back to the assassin. So like they're just firing into your house guard, into Marcellus and all of them. The assassin wheels on you, Hiram, as you shoot him, and he kind of like steps to the side, and you see him move his hand, across his body. He's doing a reach across draw, which is very rare. Most people don't do it, and so it shows that he's left-handed too. He draws the gun, which your analytical mind would point out, like you said, like you do investigations. So he reaches across left-handed, pulls the gun, a beautiful, beautiful heavy revolver, black steel, etched in gold, just beautiful. And he's going to draw it on you and take 2 shots at you. Uh, 19.
That hits.
And 17.
Also hits.
And he is going to fan the hammer action surge to take 2 more attacks. 6, which misses.
Yep.
And 15.
15 is equal to.
Okay, so that's 3 hits then. So first attack is going to do 10.
Okay.
Second attack is going to do 6. And third attack is going to do 6 also.
All right, I am down.
Okay, yeah, so he turns, blood spraying the wall in front of him. He's stumbling forward against the desk, turns quickly, reaches across, pulls the gun, shoots once, hits you in the leg, making you stumble to the ground, shoots the second time, hits you in the shoulder, and shoots the third time, hitting you square in the chest. As everything kind of just fades to a black. You hear the sound of a shattering window as footsteps come running up the stairs behind you, and the assassin disappears into the night. The bands of So run off into the fields, disappearing into the cloud of smoke and fire. Black Crow taking one wary look over his shoulder before running after them, and combat is now over.
Do I have aid, or should I just go ahead and start doing death saving throws?
You'll have aid. You feel somebody pressing some like water to your forehead and giving you some putting some on your lips like for you to drink. Somebody patching up your wounds. You feel searing pain as somebody sticks something inside the wounds and like yanking as a bullet is pulled from your body. The house doctor appears to be here, working on your body, like trying to keep you alive. Basically, he stabilizes you immediately as he has surgery. Yeah, hot fire poker, basically.
I will yell out to whoever is still alive on our side, "Someone put out that fire!" And I'll charge over to Matoskah and try to medicine check him.
Go ahead.
Natural 1, so I'm going to spend my inspiration to not kill Matoskah. 16.
Okay, you stabilize him. If you're like reaching for like the place where he's been like stabbed in the gut. You're like, maybe there's something stuck inside of him. You start to reach for the hole. You're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
You pull your hand back. Yeah, okay, you stabilize Matoskah. People start busily putting out the fires, screaming and yelling. More people showing up. And you see one of the house guard. He's like yelling for Marcellus. He's like, Marcellus, what do we do? We need help. Marcellus. And he turns around and looks over his shoulder. And you see lying on the ground is Marcellus.
I've already done something, but if nobody else does something, then I'll try to stabilize him too, but I'll throw it to somebody else first. Or I guess Wes.
I mean, Wes is looking down at his hands, holding a thing that normally he doesn't hold, and he's just awestruck by it, as if the last 6 moments he was not really aware of what was going on.
So I will charge to Marcella too and try to medicine check him.
And yeah, and as you reach down to medicine check him, like to try and like help him out, to find out where the wound is, you roll him on his side, and you see that somebody has shot him in the back of the head.
Well then. So super dead.
Like super dead, yeah.
Okay. Sure, it's not going to help, but can I guess perception check, and maybe I also, it's up to you actually, because I feel like borderline I wouldn't maybe notice this, but maybe notice what Wes is holding. So want me to like perception check and see how much perception I perceive?
Well, I mean, I think Wesley says he's standing in a stupor staring at this gun in his hand, right?
Yeah.
I think it'd be pretty obvious that this gun is the gun that you feel like you've been looking for, and he's just staring at it now.
Okay, and I rolled a 19 on perception too, so I noticed that, but do I notice anything else out as I'm looking for someone who might have shot Buddy in the back of the head, Marcella?
You
19
see,
on the
I mean, there
perception?
are a lot of house guard who are like now busily trying to put out the fire. You have no idea who might have been standing behind him, who might have fired the shots. There was a lot of confusion, a lot of gunshots. You're gonna have to like formally question probably all the people here.
Beautiful. I would realize there's not much to do for Marcella, and there's like just a shitstorm of stuff going on. I'd stand up and look to see how the fire is being dealt with and start barking out orders for like people to do like get some water from there and do whatever's needed and jump in also. I would yell at Wes like, snap out of it, Wes. We need to get this fire out.
Yes, Mr. Sheriff, sir. Yes, Mr. Lance.
Yeah, and with the concerted effort, you managed to minimize the damage to just the eastern portion of the fields. So basically, all of the rooted plants, all the potatoes, beets, carrots, all the ground growing plants are burned out. And that's where we'll end the session.
Much intrigue, so death.
So let's go ahead and do our quick cold close. We're gonna move up to the mansion where people hurriedly tend to Hiram, who's now unconscious on the ground. Oh, barely conscious on the ground. The doctor is kind of like fussing over you. Your eyes flutter open, and you are awake again. Barely. You're able to come to briefly and see the chaos in the room. Dennis is kind of like standing over you. He gets down to kneel and like looks down at you like, "What happened, Hiram? What is it? What happened?"
Hiram kind of coughs up some blood. I was a little confused by your messages in chat. Does this put me over since my backstory includes one death already?
Let's say no. Yeah,
Okay.
Let's say no. So now you're 3 lives.
Hiram kind of coughs up a little like spittle of blood, and he goes, deep green eyes and a black steel gun etched with gold, left-handed, draws across his chest. If I don't make it, find another duelist. That's who you're looking for. He's not so. And Hiram, like, done, passes out.
Dennis stands up from looking at you, and he kind of like just shakes his head, like, "What?" And he like kind of realizes what you've told him, realizing you might not remember when you wake up, and he runs over to the desk, and he like grabs a random piece of paper and starts writing on it, writing these things down, and frowning to himself at the description. We'll have to ask him more when he wakes up. Lester comes up the stairs and sees the doctor working on you, and his eyes just widen. And Dennis like looks at him and walks over and like pushes him towards the stairs. He'll be fine. He'll be fine, Dennis. The doctor's got him. He'll take care of him. I mean, he'll be fine, Lester, not Dennis. And Lester, you see his face slowly change from fear to just like a resigned anger. And he just kind of nods, and he looks at the paper in his hand and reads it real quickly, real briefly, and then walks back downstairs. We're going to go back out to the fields. The guards kind of surround Marcellus's body after the fire's been put out. Everyone's soot-stained and burned. Your lungs filled with smoke. And the they kind of like kneel down, and they're carrying Marcellus away in like a horse-drawn wagon. And you yell that nobody leaves here, and everyone kind of like looks at you and looks back at Marcellus's body, and they just kind of nod. Everybody kind of just stays milling about, standing and looking at you expectantly. Before we see a man in black stained leathers running down the street, blood smear leaving behind him in the dust, which is quickly kicked up and covering it. He runs for a while before stopping in an alleyway and looking at the bullet wounds and just kind of grunting in pain and looking down at some papers clutched in his hand. And he just shakes his head. And we see him pull his gun out. It's basically identical to the one that Wesley is carrying. There's, instead of being silver, it's black. And he shoves it into a holster at his side, grunts, and continues down the street, running towards the far edge of town. And that's where we'll end. So thanks, everybody, for playing. Great session. We'll have the next one on the 9th of July. And, well, let's go ahead and do outros. We'll start with Alex and end with Chris Hiram.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alex. I'm playing Matoskah, the Yakagi barbarian. Went down hard this session, but cool session anyways. It was fun. Had a great time.
Chris Lance.
Oh, my bad. Yep, I'm Lance O'Connor. You can find me on YouTube or Twitter at TheRPGinger. Go ahead and give me a follow. Check out my stuff. Great game tie, and I'll pass it off to Connor.
Hey, I'm Connor. I'm half the dice on ice. This is a lot of fun. Trailing out in the nice wild west of Providence, where we have a lot of shenanigans ensuing. Yeah, this has been a good game. I'll pass it off to the next person.
Hey, I'm Chris. Run Drop Dice, and I am part of Babel Corp RP, a new channel that's starting up with a couple of different people like Lloyd Collins and Marquise. So if you're interested in those types of games, we're going to start building up that channel soon. There's already one game on there, and hopefully by the end of this week, I'll finish the editing on the All Barbarian D&D game I ran last night, which was pretty awesome. So I definitely recommend checking that out.
And as always, if you're tuning into the game, this is on my channel, On a Roll. It's ROLE, like roleplay. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for playing. Like I said, we'll have our next game in about 2 weeks. And I'm enjoying playing with these guys. If you want a link to their channels, I included it in the description. Go ahead and like and subscribe. If you enjoyed the game, if you enjoy the setting, feel free to like and subscribe as well. And I hope you find yourselves in new games on a roll.